cute, apparently.
Yeah, Crash.
Yeah, he's
God,
back.
I want to play these
Crash
video
is
games
back.
now.
Video games are really going back into the vintage style right now, if not via this system, via remaster.
That's what's so good about Nintendo. That's like Nintendo's core competency is to create like great characters that are in multiple games and focus on the gameplay element, and then also expand the community element. And now you don't need that kind of next level technology. You can just make a really fun game that people can enjoy.
Well, it's not out yet. If you can get your hands on it, it will come with an HDMI cable, a charging cable, 2 SNES controllers, and the controllers will have a 5-foot cord. They will not be wireless. Audience, are you gonna go get one? Please let us know below, and please like and subscribe for more. If you're really grumpy and pissed off all the time lately, we have a reason why, backed by science. It's because it's hot. It's summer, it's real hot, we're all crabby, we want to leave. Reading about this research, I was just telling you, made me crabby because I think I was getting primed to be grumpy.
Right, that's it. They're talking about negative, 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 and then by the end, like, I actually felt hot while reading the story because I'm picturing like cramped spaces and discomfort of people
like
taking
sun
surveys.
Shining in, the room is getting all stuffy.
Yep.
Everyone's a little sweaty. Like sticky, ugh. So researchers from Lehigh University and Northwestern University's Kellogg School of Management, respectively, conducted a few different experiments in order to figure out if heat makes us cranky. I think the easy answer for us to come to is, of course, but this is more quantifiable, so we'll go with this. So the first one pulled data from a summer 2010 study in Russian shopping malls because the malls were very hot. This was a very hot summer for Russia as well. And they found that store employees at one specific store were less inclined, 59% less inclined to ask customers, can I help you? Do you need assistance at all? Let me show you this, let me show you that. They could not be bothered.
Dude, because you don't want to do anything when you're hot.
No, you don't.
You just, that's why they invented like porches in like the South. People just sit out on the porch just trying not to burn.
In the second experiment.
Let's talk about our first experience.
Well, no.
Okay.
Researchers recruited 160 participants to take a quiz about online trivia. Before they started, half the participants were told to imagine they were somewhere uncomfortably hot. Then they answered a few questions about their feelings, and then they took the quiz. After that, they were asked if they would like to fill out a short survey about their experience. So the trivia quiz was just a trick. They didn't care about that at all. But the post-quiz survey after was what really they were looking at. What they found was, well, most people didn't take the survey because they were hot and grumpy from the group that was told to think they were hot. And people who'd had to think about whether they were hot were significantly less likely than others, 44% versus 77%, to agree to do the survey at all. And then when they did, they reported they were tired and less happy.
Right, and some of this was just like telling people to think they were hot.
I know.
Which is interesting.
Which is what I did.
Have you ever been like on a cold street, like outside in the cold, and you're shivering, and then you think to yourself, I'm just gonna stop shivering, I am warm. And then I've been able to use just that thought process to stop my shivering. And this seems to lead credence to that batshit crazy approach of just like telling yourself you're a different temperature.
I've never been able to do that.
Really?
I actually have a harder time with cold than I do heat.
Huh.
I get really upset. All I think about is how cold I am. I complain a lot and loudly. And it just doesn't, I get nothing done.
I do the complaining thing too. It's interesting because then you're saying that if people are colder, they're more productive. And so it's interesting if you run an office environment, you might want to invest literally more money in the energy cost of cooling down your office so you can get the increased productivity.
Is that why Jank likes it so damn cold in here?
Jank likes it cold in here, as well as most people who run studios want it cold, because if it's warm, you're gonna be more tired and have less energy. If it's cold, in addition to you giving a better performance because you have to be in the moment to keep yourself from freezing, then the people in the audience are more inclined to laugh and be responsive if they're cold. There was a whole, on Colbert, he was talking about, he like talked to, I think, one of his guests about how he and Julie Andrews was talking about how like, oh, I love that it's cold in your studio because it's supposed to be. It's for comedy audiences, you want to keep them cold too.
Okay, well, in this, they found that even being suggested the idea that you're hot makes people uncomfortable and therefore unhappy and therefore less likely to cooperate or be helpful in general. So from this, we can glean, if you think you're hot, you're probably not going to be happy about it or anything.
So you prefer hot? What would you prefer?
I like a dry heat.
89-degree day.
Humid is the word that I don't like.
Or a kind of cold 57-degree day.
Kind of cold?
Sorry, 59-degree day.
That's very cold to me.
Muggy, valley.
I don't like muggy.
Muggy, you have to choose.
I like a dry heat.
Yeah, so you like to be comfortable. We're gonna make you uncomfortable. You have to choose between a muggy park in the valley at like 4:30.
The valley.
And it's my hometown, so that I know how terrible it is. At like 4:30 p.m. in the summer, in a park, the heat's coming up from the ground, and it's like 89 degrees and like 90% humidity. Or
I'll take the cold.
Yes.
You win.
That's it. That's all I wanted.
Audience, how do you do in the heat? Can you just not stand it? Do you get nothing done? Are you a real jerk to your friends and your enemies? Please let us know below, and please like and subscribe for more. If you're good at trivia, does that mean you're smart? According to some new research, the opposite is true.
In a specific way.
Let me make it more easy. So this research comes from Professor Blake Richards from the University of Toronto. And his thesis here is that if you're forgetting more things or forgetting small details, being a little forgetful, it may mean that your brain is actually functioning better. The crux of this is you're shedding the chaff of the information and keeping the more important part. And according to him, intelligence is sort of building upon different pieces of knowledge and different experiences and learning how to understand and cope dynamically, as opposed to remembering every little piece of minutia.
Right. That said, just because you're being forgetful does not mean you're smart.
No.
If you are forgetting important things, like where your keys are.
It may be a sign that your brain is working properly.
But it also might be a sign that you're losing it. Because the crux of this is, there are things it is good to forget. There are non-essential experiential memories that you don't need. It would be better, you would prefer to forget exactly what color the person was wearing, but rather get a feeling for what kind of a person they are. So if you say, I don't like that person, and then you're in a fight with your girlfriend and she's like, well, what specific time did they do you wrong? And you go, I don't remember, I just remember not liking them.
Well, if you held on to that information, it's thinking, why did you hold on to that relatively useless information that does not help your life at all?
Right, exactly. So that's good. There's some things it's good to forget, and you do that because the important thing is retaining that memory of what you needed to remember, which apparently was a feeling for like a store not having what you want, not specifically what thing didn't they have when I went there, like frickin' Dick's Sporting Goods. I go to this place, Dick's Sporting Goods, every time I need a sporting good and they never have it. I don't remember what specific things I went to buy, but I know that every time I've gone there, they never have like the boogie board that I want or anything remotely good. So I can't tell you what they didn't have, I know they fucking suck. I've cussed twice.
I can imagine you buying a boogie board from Dick's Sporting Goods.
There's one in El Segundo.
Great.
And boogie boarding is great.
So this story is currently, or not story, this research is currently in Neuron, the scientific journal. And they found in this that the growth of new neurons in the hippocampus, that is the part of our brains that is most closely associated with memory.
It's the part where hippos go to college.
If that's something you remember, maybe, it seems to promote forgetting. So the purpose of this is to make room for more information, specifically more important information. So it could be a sign that your brain is functioning properly. However, you do need to look at context, as Brett says. It may be a bad sign as well if you're constantly forgetting everything.
Something interesting in this is they said that while it's easier to remember specifics if you're remembering conflicting information than if you're just given a random fact. So it's easier to retain like the two sides of an argument than it is to retain just one side of the argument, because you get more involved in reconciling the differences. So that's a deeper experience, and that's the kind of thing that makes it more likely to remember each side, because you do need that information as opposed to like, who won the World Series in 1977.
Right. I think the point of this is for me to say trivia is not all that.
But then what do I have to live for if I don't have trivia?
Which is Brett's favorite pastime on Wednesdays.
It's true.
Yeah. Audience, have you ever forgotten something pretty insignificant and had it come up later? Please let us know below, and please like and subscribe for more. A strange animal has been found deep in a dark underwater cave, and it is being called a baby dragon. However, that is just a nickname. Damn. It has another nickname, which is human fish.
What a disappointing thing to eventually see after hearing that it's called a human fish.
Human fish and baby dragon. What does it look like? Yeah, I don't see how that looks like a human at all.
They say it's because of the color of the skin. So this is in Croatia
racial.
Where they're that color.
That seems racial.
It's a white people area in Croatia. And because their skin is like, has this texture or something.
Well, it's because they live in complete darkness their entire lives, deep underwater. So it doesn't lend to looking like cool colored or anything darker. The creatures are adapted to live at these depths with zero sunlight. This is the deepest they've ever found in an underground lake in Croatia. These animals are called olms, and they are typically only found in the Balkans and Italy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I like finding weird animals. I like finding them in weird places at the bottom of underground lakes. It's one of those things that to think about the process of going and finding them through like cave diving.
Yeah.
Really, that sounds like a horror movie to me.
I think it's cool that we keep finding animals that are on Earth.
Yes.
Just deeper and deeper in the water.
Can you go down like a weird rabbit hole with me?
When don't I?
There's like, I had this thought the other day where it's like the brain just normalizes stuff so easily. Like the weirdest stuff, we're like, yeah, that's fine. Like elephants. Like there's kids who are like, well, this is what elephants look like, and we have elephants.
Were you high?
Maybe. But like other animals are like other animals. This elephant is there's a giant alien creature with giant ears and whose nose is a hand.
How would you feel?
That drinks water, and we're fine with this.
We all drink water, Brett.
The nose drinks. The nose is a straw, and it squirts water, and it's very complicated, and it's unlike everything else.
Do you feel this way about olms?
I feel this way about
dragons
olms
because they are very odd. They have a long snake-like body, about 1 foot in length. They have weird little stumpy legs. They are one of the largest creatures to call the caves under the Dinaric Alps home.
Amazing.
Yes.
And
they only live in caves.
I also respect amphibians for this reason. Like there were fish, and then there was a transformation into land animals.
Are you high now?
No, I'm not. I'm not at all. But there was a transformation into land animals. And somewhere in the middle, amphibians are like, nah, I'm cool like this. I don't need to be there, I don't need to be here. Well, I'm just gonna stay.
I mean, they have adapted to live in this really strange and challenging environment.
Right, but they didn't.
That is cool that they've done that.
As amphibians, they gain the ability to exist on land, or at least in moist places. Wow.
Conservationists and biologists are working hard to protect these animals in this specific area, as well as the limestone caves and lakes in which they are actually being threatened as well. So it's a balance between learning about them and also learning how to protect them at this point because they are so strange.
Good.
Yeah.
I hope they make it.
What is the weirdest animal you know of? Do you think elephants are crazy too? Let us know below, and please like and subscribe for more.
Tooth horns. They have tooth horns. Elephants.
You may have this dream of being a hero in a situation, like pulling people out of a burning building, saving people from a sinking ship or a sinking plane, but that may not actually be the best strategy according to some new research. So there is a new study out by Ishido Higo, a civil engineer who has been researching the problem of evacuation in an emergency and survivability as well. He presented the paper with something called, is it pronounced the Vitae system, which is modeling an evacuation and rescuing process under survivability critical states. Generally, it describes the likelihood of survival in a specific situation with different factors in it. So there's 3 factors in the system. 1, how bad is it in general? 2, what is your stamina? How long can you wait it out? And 3, what's your conviviality, which is how well can you deal with the other people around you? And how can you communicate with other survivors, rescuers, the environment itself?
Yeah, and the conclusion is?
Well, those are the metrics, right?
Right.
So what there are is there's 3 different methods that you would use in a situation like this. So number 1, total selfishness.
Get out of my way.
You only help yourself. You push children and babies.
Just stepping on babies, throwing babies at the problem. Using the force from throwing a baby back to propel you forward.
Completely selfish.
Lighting babies on fire.
I don't think that was
Fireball
studied.
Babies.
Irene, I think that makes your own survivability lower because you're wasting your time.
If it's a flood, taking a water bottle and pouring it out into the flood to drown people behind you.
And also peeing in the water.
Peeing, yeah.
Okay, that's the first method. Number 2 is
shorthand peeing.
Peeing, sure, or the George Costanza method.
That's what it's called.
Which is completely selfish in every way. No one helps anyone. The next is a group strategy where everybody helps each other get out at once. So you're all like, here, take my hand.
No, you take my hand.
I'll carry the kid. You know, everyone runs out, but helps each other.
In the meantime, to carry the babies as it's flooding.
You're only thinking of babies.
I'm just using them as a control.
The third method is the rope method, which is you save yourself first, but then ostensibly throw a rope back to help whoever, which sounds like what is recommended on planes for when the breathing tubes come down.
Yes.
To put yours on, then put on the child's, you know.
The babies.
Or the babies.
So then.
If we're going to continue our metaphor, which we are.
Yes, so yeah. And that one works the best. So that's the one to do. That
is the strategy that won in this research handily. I was gonna say hand over fist, but I forgot the words. So more lives were saved overall if you use the third one. So given a worst case disaster warning period where evacuation starts 12 or more minutes after the start of, let's say, a flood, which was used as the model in this research, over 80% of evacuees fail given strategy number 2, the group strategy.
Right, where it's like, oh, everyone help each other, let's all be heroes, that's bad.
A lot of you are going to die that way. But if you do the rope strategy, AKA strategy number 3, 45% die. So that's a lot better.
I can live with that.
So maybe the idea to just run in and save everybody is not the best.
Yes.
You need to save yourself and then save them.
Nor is the instinct to just save yourself alone.
Yeah, that seems like a dick move.
It seems like, listen, you can't help anyone unless somebody is safe. So get safe first. And then you were mentioning the, is this the hero with the gun, a good guy with the gun argument. I think the reason they choose a flood in this simulation is because you're not affecting the behavior of the flood no matter what you do. This is simply avoidance.
This research was conducted in Japan where flooding is an actual real danger.
Right.
Due to tsunami or rain or tropical storms.
Right, so in the absence of your gauge of a villain, when it's just, this is an unstoppable force of a landslide, tsunami, some kind of natural disaster. I think that's really good to know. And hopefully this kind of research informs new evacuation procedures if they're not in place already. It seems like the spirit is already in planes and going on in Japan, but it's nice to have some kind of concrete justification for me being completely selfish.
No
to a point.
We want number 3, where you're a little selfish. It's good to be a little selfish if you turn around and help people after that.
Right, you start off selfish, you get yourself out of the hot lava, and then you help people get out of the hot lava.
This is a new scenario. I think flooding is a little bit more fair in this method, at least, because
cold lava, sorry, cold
the water
lava
isn't going to burn our feet off.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Audience, which one would you be most likely to follow? Totally selfish, totally unselfish, or a little bit of both? Please let us know below, and please like and subscribe for more. Why do people believe fake news? Well, I mean, okay, I need to make it clear. Actual fake news, not just if you're just some guy who has a vendetta against ABC, NBC, whatever. But actual false information is somehow promoted higher. Why is that? Some researchers found out. So this was conducted at Shanghai Institute of Technology, and they're exploring the dynamic of people consuming information, but maybe good or bad information.
Right.
As it's kind of actually what they found was, I don't know where to start with this.
It's tough.
So
yeah.
In the past, we had this idea of this marketplace of ideas, or marketplace of information, and the idea would be that the highest quality stuff would be what would get the most attention paid to it.
Right. More information in this pool. Since we are all discerning, smart individuals, we can wade through that pool, and more people would bubble the good stuff to the top.
Right.
Reliable information. That's how it would play out.
However, what they found in this research was that bad quality versus good quality didn't really matter. The bad stuff would get as much attention as the good stuff. Why is that? In short, there's too much of it.
Yes.
So we have this chart from the research itself. It shows it's pretty simple. It's relating a couple metrics. Quality, they're using the word meme, but that could be any kind of informational kernel, popularity, attention, and load. And what they found was there's just too much stuff. So as the number of memes went up, the attention paid to one in particular went down. So our attention spans cannot handle this much information all at once, and therefore cannot discern good stuff from bad stuff, be able to separate the quality stuff to a higher level. So we're gonna accept bad quality stuff as the same. Bad quality stuff is easier to produce. You could even have a bot do it. So why wouldn't there be more?
Right, it's like, I don't know if anyone saw that old I Love Lucy conveyor belt thing where it's her job to deal with the things that are going
candies.
by. The candy or something, she pull out the bad candy, whatever, you're on a conveyor belt. There's a certain pace that you can handle, but if the pace is increased beyond what you're able to sort through, now like a lot of stuff's getting through. And what's interesting to me is the potential approaches this could suggest to people who want to fix the problem, because I think we all can identify this being a problem, misinformation as a result of our inability to really know what dependably is good, because there's just so much stuff and it's moving so quickly. One is what Facebook seems to be trying to do, which is their approach is let's editorialize, let's give people a better way of flagging what might be potentially negative. This indicates that there are limitations to that just because there's too much stuff to flag, even if we give every potential tool. The other option is just limit the overall number of things that get posted, period.
So there needs to be less information, but greater diversity of the kinds of information.
But even if you even if you maintain the same diversity in types of information, their logic is that if there's a more manageable group of crap mixed with gold, we can handle it.
Yeah.
And the problem is we're increasing, I mean, even if we're increasing the amount of crap with the amount of goodness, it's just too much that the crap can find a way to bubble to the top in a way that we can't control for.
Well, I mean, a lot of this is coming from bot accounts
Yeah.
in particular. That's what the research is pointing to. And having a majority of this content coming from bot accounts, that needs to be stemmed. And if we stem that, then it would be a lot easier to do, as you said, to be able to use our own brains to separate the good from the bad.
We have never had so much information
It's a lot.
and so little idea of what the hell is going on.
2017, y'all.
Yay.
The research seems to indicate that if social media networks are able to curb the content coming from bots, that this would in fact make it easier for us to tell what from what. Until that happens, it's going to be pretty difficult to navigate. Audience, have you ever almost or actually believed a fake piece of news information? Please let us know below what it was, and please like and subscribe for more.
So last week, the Supreme Court ruled that they will instate some of Trump's travel ban or Muslim ban, depending on who you talk to. They're going to make a ruling on the entirety of the travel ban later in the fall, but they have allowed some aspects of it to remain before they make this decision. Now, one of the things that people are talking about a lot is this concept of bona fide relationships, okay? So it basically, this travel ban, if you're not familiar, banned people coming from 6 different countries that are predominantly Muslim, which is why it sort of got that nickname, the Muslim ban. Now, a lot of people are saying that's unconstitutional because we are rejecting people based off religion. Trump is saying that there are severe security threats from some of these countries when you're talking about, terrorism and some of the intel that we may know of things that they're trying to implement on planes, okay? Now, the Supreme Court said, okay, people can still come from those countries if they have a bona fide relationship. Now, what does that mean? Well, Charlie and I are gonna tell you that right now. Now, grandparents, grandchildren, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, cousins, brothers-in-law, sisters-in-law, fiancés, or other extended family members are not considered to be close relations. So that is not a bona fide relationship. Now, instead, visa applicants from the 6 listed countries must be able to prove that they have a parent, spouse, child, adult son or daughter, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, or sibling already in the United States to qualify for the exemptions. Now, further, they said that people who are going to American universities, workers hired by American companies, family members who want to visit or live with relatives in the US, and lecturers who have been asked to come speak to American audiences can also be covered by this exemption, but they have to have this, it has to be like a formal contract, okay? So there already has to be like written information. It can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna go talk and then, they sneak in under our noses, as many within the administration might say. What do you think about this?
Well, I mean, this is basically Trump's way. Trump doesn't really care, in my mind, about doing a ban at all. He's just trying to say, hey, I maintain this promise I made on the campaign trail, which he just made to appeal to that part of the base that is a little more. So if you want to get married, the word you're looking
for, the xenophobic.
Did I not say xenophobic?
You said the part, but I want to make sure people understand what we're talking about here.
The xenophobic part of the base he's appealing to. Yes. He doesn't care about this. I mean, think about how easy is it to get married? How many of us have gone to Vegas, gotten drunk, and come back with a wedding ring? It's pretty easy, and that's all it takes to become bona fide in the hashtag no judgment. But that's all it takes to become bona fide in this situation. And if it's that easy, he doesn't. I don't think he's truly serious about it. I think he wants to check off the box. It's going to be done in 120 days.
So you think this is like a 90-day fiance sort of situation where people will be able to get married really easily?
No, I think it's not that hard to get married.
Yes, I agree. I mean, but the thing is it's not that hard to get married, but it's also not easy to get into this country regardless. Even if you don't have a bona fide relationship, there's a really extreme vetting process that we're just sort of not giving any sort of credence to. Do you know what I mean?
Well, we're just ignoring.
We're just ignoring that's a process that exists, that is successful, and we're trying to create all of these other sorts of obstacles for people who are fleeing these really dire situations in these countries. You know what I mean? Syria is one of the countries, and they have a huge civil war there. People are dying. People are dealing with ISIS, and they're dealing with Assad's people. There's so many awful violence that's going around them, and people dying, and then there's hunger and all these other components. And we're just oh, you don't have a daughter-in-law in the country? Right. Well, then you're not welcome. Even if you have a grandparent in the country, that of course should be considered a bona fide relationship. If we're going to even sort of humor the idea that this travel ban is somewhat constitutional, so it does. I think it's just stupid.
Well, I think, when you're talking to your grandparents this Grandparents' Day, just say, I love you, even though this thing isn't bona fide. Even though it's not bona fide, I heart you, Grandma.
Somebody needs to put that on a card. We should trademark that before Hallmark gets it.
Start selling them. Think Tank Grandparents.
I'm gonna but that's a great way to start writing love letters. This is bona fide.
You know it's bona fide because we went to Vegas. Got drunk.
You brought this up a lot of times. That's not what happened with you and Alex, and I know that.
I'm taking one example and saying that's how you can make it bona fide.
Yeah. So
I'm not saying I did it. I'm just saying you could.
One could do that.
Yeah. It's the day after the 4th of July, ladies and gentlemen. We're obviously struggling here to put words together.
No. So bona fide relationships. We explained it. I think we did a fine job.
I think we did a good job. Put a stamp on it.
It'll be interesting to see how this sort of evolves when the Supreme Court does rule on the travel ban in the fall after their little break happens. So in the interim, people are just going to be screwed if they're trying to come to America from these countries.
I would wait 120 days. I don't think Trump's going to push it further. He wanted to check a box, and now that box is checked, and it's gone. One could only hope. And I'm going to hope because I am one.
It's the day after the 4th of July, ladies. About bona fide relationships in the comments down below. We'll see you soon. So we all remember the millionaire who told us that millennials couldn't afford homes because they were spending all their money on avocado toast. Now, we dispelled that myth here on Think Tank, but now a home mortgage company called SoFi wants to let you know that you can have your cake and eat it too, or have your avocado toast and have a home. Because if you take out a home using a SoFi mortgage, then they will give you a monthly supply of avocado toast. You will receive an email once you take out a home mortgage using their services, asking whether you want regular or gluten-free bread. Because if you're gonna, appease to millennial stereotypes, might as well go all the way, go all in, all right? Now, the avocados and bread will arrive in a series of 3 shipments, though you'll still need to toast the bread yourself to get the full experience, which means that I'm out, because that seems like a lot of work. That seems like just a little bit too much.
There's a hidden danger in here, though. Avocado hand. Avocado hand is a thing. So what this SoFi is doing is basically promoting more avocado hand.
What's
injuries.
avocado hand?
It's when you cut your hand trying to get the pit out of the avocado.
I have a
you had avocado hand.
I have an avocado hand.
Guys, this is a real thing.
I was holding the half and I wanted to cut it up into slices in there and then scoop it out, as one does. Sliced right through my finger, blood everywhere. I had to go to the ER, and now I have stitches. You see it right there.
I do see it, and that's a tragedy. Guys, we're gonna take a brief moment just to explain how to properly cut an avocado. You cut it in half, okay? You lay both sides flat. Then you take your knife without your other hand anywhere around it, and you hack the pit, okay? So it's in the pit, twist the knife, pit is out, avocado free. No more.
But you have to scoop the avocado out. That's what happened here. Is I was trying to slice, I already had the pit out, trying to slice slices so that it would be beautifully sliced on my toast.
Oh, okay. Don't do that either.
Right through the finger. Yeah, with a butter knife.
A butter knife?
Yeah,
stop
I'm very
it.
strong.
A butter knife does not do that.
Swear to God.
Oh,
swear to God.
Anyway, what's this video about again?
So clearly, we are representing millennials in our obsession with avocado toast. Yeah. And I can't afford a home, so maybe that guy was onto something. I don't know. I love that this company is doing this. I think it's funny. They're sort of capitalizing on this guy who basically said this sort of asinine thing. The world freaked out. I freaked out. I commented on it. I said it was stupid. I made a video about it. So I like that they're capitalizing on it, and I like that they're going to give out free avocado toast, because if you get a new home, what else do you want? What do you need in it? The first things that you need are avocado toast.
And I will say, on a serious note, avocado toast can be $7 and up, and that's a lot of money for avocado toast.
It is a lot of money. You don't spend that much money on avocado toast. Not just to get a home, just because you might have some sort of standards in your life.
Yeah. It's just avocado and toast. It's at most $3.
Avocados are expensive, especially once we build that wall. We're gonna be really, really having to spend a lot of money. Let us know if you would take out a home mortgage to get a free monthly supply of avocado toast.
It's a good question.
Or what if you would take out a home? What would you take out a home mortgage for? A monthly supply for? Like, would it be an avocado toast? Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's the first thing I would do. Like lattes, probably.
What if?
Lattes are expensive.
Do you think avocado toast is going to be the start of the next mortgage crisis?
Oh,
people just get mortgages
that's the bubble.
to get avocado toast, and then they can't. They realize that they just did it for the avocado toast. They can't really pay this.
It's gonna be like The Big Short #2.
Yeah.
The sequel.
The Big Short 2, avocado toast. Hashtag avocado hand.
Let us know what you think in the comments down below, and we'll see you soon. Has the NRA officially lost it? You tell us.
They use their media to assassinate real news. They use their schools to teach children that their president is another Hitler. They use their movie stars and singers and comedy shows and award shows to repeat their narrative over and over again. And then they use their ex-president to endorse the resistance, all to make them march, make them protest, make them scream racism and sexism and xenophobia and homophobia, to smash windows, burn cars, shut down interstates and airports, bully and terrorize the law-abiding, until the only option left is for the police to do their jobs and stop the madness. And when that happens, they'll use it as an excuse for their outrage. The only way we stop this, the only way we save our country and our freedom, is to fight this violence of lies with the clenched fist of truth. I'm the National Rifle Association of America, and I'm freedom's safest place.
By truth, does she mean AR-15 or what?
She's called clenched fist with a gun in it.
Yeah, clenched fist on the trigger.
I like her saying they caused racist and sexist and xenophobic and call out our homophobia when we're doing these things. We should shoot them. Like, that's essentially what she's saying.
Who is they?
They are people who want gun control, and I'm assuming some sort of liberal conglomerate.
Do you know what's interesting? The NRA made this entire video a week after Philando Castile, the ruling came down, and they still haven't said anything about Philando Castile.
Let's talk about that. We're gonna pivot, because Philando Castile's a really interesting case, because he basically disclosed that he had a gun legally and licensed in his car to the cop, and he wasn't reaching for it or anything like that, but he still was shot by the cop. So the NRA should have gotten behind that story and said, hey, we need to work up our protections, but they didn't. And I have a feeling that it was because of the color of his skin. Now, if it was a white person who this happened to, they would have responded. I think they would have had a statement or something like that. And then when they talk about cops, and they're like, oh, the cops are like, they have to, respond, blah, blah. When people are mad about police brutality, it's not like cops are responding to these protests or something like that. It's because cops are shooting Black people for being Black, essentially. That's why people are mad about police brutality. It's not because they're like, oh, like cops are like standing at a protest or whatever, and they're just like waiting for Pepsis. Like, that's not what people are upset about. You know what I mean? This entire thing is just crazy. She is an interesting lady.
Do we know who this woman is?
No, she says she's the NRA.
Oh,
she says, I am the NRA.
I like that they got kind of a Wonder Woman looking woman for it, Very similar features.
Okay.
Is that sexist?
I think Gal Gadot's prettier, but that's okay.
No, I'm just saying.
Yes, I hear what you're saying, and
also beauty's in the eye of the gun holder. Yeah.
Damn it!
I got it. I got you.
Yeah. Yes. So obviously, there's a lot of issues with this. I think it's just trying to like incite sort of like anger. It's just saying like it's us versus them, which I just don't think is something that we need to be perpetuating, especially when it comes to gun control laws.
I'll say this, I am from Wisconsin, so I'm a gun owner.
Yeah, I was interested to hear your opinion about this one.
Yeah, I know coming from Wisconsin, pretty much most people will have, I don't want to say most people, a lot of people I know have guns and they have guns for hunting. Some people have pistols, but it's not as big of a thing. Something almost fell back there. But I think most people don't really care about the NRA in my experience there. And I think if the NRA continues, they have come out after rulings like the Philando Castile case, similar rulings, and they've sided on the citizen. But I think right now they've pivoted to take this position of defending the police at all costs because it's becoming a police versus protester kind of thing. They don't want to complicate that narrative, and that's very simple to see in this video, which comes out a week after that ruling. But
and also, like they say, their ex-president, homegirl, it was your president too.
Hashtag your president.
It's a former president. Like it's not like their ex-president. Like no. He ran the entire country for 8 years. You lived in that country, so
it's your president.
Yeah, but like, but I would make the same argument because I know I'm gonna get this in the comments. But I would make the same argument like people who are like, not my president. Like, no, it is. Like, this is somebody who the people elected, and we need to, like, obviously hold him accountable. And there's so many different things that we need to accomplish within the next 4 years and in 2018 when we vote. But like, it is our president, and we need to. I think accepting that is the best move because then we're gonna be even more aggressive with like the resist movement and holding him accountable and voting for the policies that we think need to happen.
Yeah, I want to add this also. During Obama's administration, it was very easy to sell guns. It was gun prices were at an all-time high. Now that Trump's in office, it's a little bit harder. So you need to constantly one up the threat or one up whatever it is to keep those guns selling. That is the NRA's. That's the whole purpose is to keep gun sales going, and that's what this video is intended to do.
Let me ask you a question, and then we'll wrap up. But like, you are a gun owner.
Yes.
Okay. So, and you had said like a lot of people in Wisconsin are also gun owners. Is there anybody that you come in contact with, and maybe you feel this way yourself, who's like, oh, I don't want stricter gun control laws, like I don't want background checks or anything like that?
Yeah, there are definitely those people. I don't believe that myself. I think if you have to go through all this stuff to drive a car, I understand driving a car is not a constitutional right, but it's my constitutional right not to get accidentally shot. You know, we have the right to safety. So I think there's
life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, life. You can't pursue happiness, yeah.
And I think we need strict, and I think most gun owners honestly would agree with this. We need strict guidelines to get a gun license and then to use that gun. In South Carolina, I walked in a gun shop. I walked out in 20 minutes with a pistol, which I got for pig hunting or whatever. It's another story. But the fact that I was able to do that, nobody asked if I knew how to work this gun, and nobody asked if I had a safe at home. Nobody asked if I had a history of mental health issues. Granted, they did do a background check, but mental health issues, especially in your early 20s, can develop literally overnight. And so the fact that there's not more strict guidelines here is troubling.
It is, especially when we have so much gun violence and people are dying because she's the NRA and she wants to have her clenched fist.
Yeah, there's a visual there that a cartoonist would have a fun time with that. I don't know what I mean by that, but use your imagination.
Well, let us know what your imagination goes to when Charlie says things like that in the comments down below. And also, let us know what you think they were trying to accomplish with this NRA ad, and we'll see you guys soon. Hey guys, welcome back to Think Tank. Hannah and Charlie here. So last month, June, was Gay Pride Month, and it was a very prideful month. Okay, so we had a lot of LGBTQIA plus guests on the show. We talked a lot about pride and the importance of it. And so the people on the internet said that maybe July should be heterosexual Pride Month to sort of follow the LGBTQ plus Pride Month. Charlie, do you think we should have a heterosexual Pride Month?
Of course, yes, obviously, because listen, heterosexual people deserve the right to have a month all to themselves, just like white people should have a white Pride Month. And as a heterosexual white male, it is my God-given right to demand those things.
You've been so disenfranchised and beat down.
I have been.
I understand.
It's been a struggle for me.
The only thing is like heterosexual Pride Month is also every month, because you have rights and you are not as treated poorly as the LGBTQ plus community. Just a little blip, 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 blip.
Hey, in all seriousness, I kind of want to throw this out there. I do think that whoever started this hashtag, it was a Twitter hashtag, I think people were just trolling. I don't think anybody really thinks that.
You know what, Charlie? I love you, and I hope that you are right. Although when we did,
she doesn't think I'm right.
When we did we covered International Women's Day back on March. People were like, "Where's our International Men's Day?" And it's like, you totally miss the point of why we have these days of celebration and these days where we're talking about why it's so important to have like pride for these communities that have been so beat down by the system. Do you know what I mean? And first of all, there is an International Men's Day. It's in November. It's just not celebrated wisely because we don't need that sort of, I guess, like over the top celebration for something that happens every other day of the year.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like in comedy, you tend to punch up and as opposed to punching down. And if you're punching down, it's just not as funny because it's just not, it's been done is basically the point. So, and I think that's what you mean by every other month being heterosexual Pride Month.
Yes.
So Hannah, I will say I agree with you in this video. And I want to get that on record in case somebody at some point takes my initial sarcastic comments and then uses them against me.
Yes, real quick, I think it was Attention who made this video about how, like, if the world was switched, like if it was like not heteronormative, right? And so it was really, really interesting to see how like the world could be if you were in somebody else's shoes. And I think it's really important that people watch this. So maybe we'll put a link to that in the description because there's so many things that we take for advantage when you are cisgender, when you're heterosexual, that you just have access to and you don't have to deal with so many other acts of bigotry. And so I think it's really important that you recognize your privilege in that and not ask for a Pride Month to celebrate your privilege. But that's just my opinion. Let us know what you think in the comments down below, and we'll see you soon. So Time Out magazine wants to see what is making you undateable by using their matchmaking skills by putting together two people who say that they are undateable and see how the date goes. All right, so this past week they put together Alyssa and Billy, okay? She's a video production manager and he is an actor. And the way that they tell this story shows why we hate dating and are all probably single. All right, she says that she's picky and has trouble finding someone with a good sense of humor, which if you have asked anybody why they're single, they probably will tell you that they are picky. Billy says he has a busy schedule and it takes more than just a beautiful woman to turn his head.
What does it take, Billy? Do tell.
She says her ideal date is a happy hour at a bar or something very non-committal. Okay, and he says picnic in Central Park. That's romantic, Billy.
That's cute. Points, Billy.
So the first impression, Alyssa says, I didn't want to be that girl who's late and I was trying really hard, but I was about 3 minutes late. He stood up and we hugged. He was really nice and charming. Do you want to read Billy's from here on out?
She was about 5 minutes late, which annoyed the shit out of me. As soon as she walked into the room, I knew she wasn't the girl for me. She didn't have the goods.
Oh, Billy, I don't know why you're single. It's probably because you're a busy schedule. Moving on. Alyssa says, he's an actor, and that's totally uncharted territory for me. I like a really stable job in a significant other, but the conversation was very friendly. He did a lot of the talking.
Whether I was attracted to her or not, I still had to sit for 2 hours and be a gentleman. We had a nice conversation. She complimented me many times.
If you say I had to sit there for 2 hours and be a gentleman, you're not a gentleman. Moving on. A couple of times he told me not to be nervous. I wasn't nervous, but that made me second guess myself and get in my head. And then the conversation stalled.
She ordered her filet mignon well done. The waiter just looked at me and I looked at the waiter. I was like, live your life, but this is not Outback Steakhouse, girl. God, Philly, listen, Outback Steakhouse, I'm going to defend right now. They have really good guacamole.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Also, like, I like my steak done. Not well done, but medium to well done.
Oh, really? You know who
like,
else does?
Who cares?
The president.
But like, who cares how you like your steak done?
I wanted to see a reaction and I was glad that was it. Yeah, it does.
I don't care if he likes, he can have like steak however he wants it.
I will, I mean, I will say, just don't get a filet mignon then.
Who cares? Why do you judge people based off how they want their meal cooked? If you want your vegetables like al dente versus like overly soggy, I don't give a F.
No, I understand. I understand what you're saying.
But I do care if you were 3 minutes late versus 5 minutes late. That is where I draw the line.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh.
I'm like very easy. I am very easygoing. Like I'm just like, I think if you're like a few minutes late, who cares? Whatever you want to order, I don't give an F. Like those are such silly things. Like that's why you're undateable. That's why you're not dating somebody, is because you are nitpicking at these stupid things. Like let's talk about like, I don't know, like their morals or ethics, what they like to do on the weekends. You know what I mean?
Sure.
If there's chemistry, but like.
Well, to get back to the steak thing.
Oh, excuse me.
No, listen, I don't. I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but the steak thing, like steak's really expensive, and if you're gonna get the reason it's really expensive is because of the taste and the cut and all that.
Right.
And if you're going to get it like burnt, you might as well just grill it on the grill at home.
You can enjoy it however you want.
I know, but then
but like if you like it, but if you like it, like what a medium rare. Okay, let's just say.
Like mowing.
Okay, if you if you like it alive.
Yeah.
Like then you can do that. But if you are I don't know if he bought that for her or she bought it. Regardless, if you are spending money for your enjoyment and somebody is spending money for your enjoyment, then you should enjoy it however you want. It's not like you don't have to get it. If she enjoys it like that, who gives an F?
It really doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. All right, let's find out what happened afterwards. Yeah, also, I like how he made up this like weird scenario where he and the waiter are like exchanging eye contact, judging
me and the waiter. Like, we knew what was up. We vacation in the Hamptons. I'm an actor. Look me up on IMDb. I've done a few short films recently. Okay, next.
We got a little ice cream afterward, which was awesome. We both gabbed about the fact that we really respect a place that will give you a macaroon with your ice cream.
I was trying to be nice and end the date, but the waiter was like, do you want some ice cream? And she was like, yay, ice cream. So that was another 20 minutes.
This is like so sad, and I don't know if you've seen that movie. He's just not that into you. But there is like this scene where it's like she like thinks that he's like interested or whatever, and like every time that she like expects something, he's like, oh no, like he's just being like nice. He's like, no, I'm never gonna call you again. And like this is like such an emotional thing for like I think for people of both genders, where they go and they thought they had a great time and the other person like completely had a different experience, and it's very sad.
That is very sad. I can tell there's some personal.
It's very sad. There's a mismatch of emotions on dates. Okay.
I feel like this video might take a turn for therapy right now.
I need to go home.
What? Did you have a similar experience here, Hannah?
No, but I think we've all been in the series, like whether it's like a first date or a relationship where your emotions were definitely mismatched, and that's really hard when you're not on the same page. But I think there's so many different, there's so many things to be nervous about or anxious about when you're on a date, you know what I mean? And you're already, especially a first date, you might feel like a little insecure. And so then to like go into this and then knowing that this is how like some people on dates can think, and then she like probably saw this afterwards, that just like elevates it so much more than it needs to be. Like there's already that like fear of the mismatch of emotions and things like that. And then to think that people actually like speak like this about another human, like I could be on the word, I have had bad dates, let me just tell you. But never was I was like, I would never afterwards be like, so that was another 20 minutes. And I had to sit there for 2 hours while she gabbed and ordered a steak that's not cooked the way that I like it. That's okay, maybe it was cooked the way she liked it.
All right, we're gonna get back on the steak thing.
Really
that's where we wanted to take this. All right, last one.
We left the restaurant, walked to the subway and said goodbye. I'm really glad that I met him. He was really interesting and cool, but I got more of a friend vibe.
There was nothing drawing me in. She was very sweet, always smiling, always bubbly. But I feel like I took 2 hours of my time and kind of just burned it. What an asshole. Oh my God.
Yeah, meeting other humans, trying to find love, that is burning your time. Maybe you could spend it better, I don't know, taking an acting class or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not really feeling, I was gonna go into this like trying to take Billy's side, but if I do, I'm just gonna.
You can't take his side. There's no way you could take this side and
for the sake of argument, I was trying. The steak was the closest I got, but it's tough to defend.
You suck, Billy.
Billy, you suck, bro.
No, but like these are the reason people like are so scared about dating, and like I feel like people should go into dates feeling like excited, and like sometimes it doesn't work out, and like you can have like a friend vibe, and that's okay. But to feel like be the kind of person where you're like, oh, I just burned this time that I was like trying to meet somebody new, is not a way to find love or any sort of meaningful human connection.
And if you always feel like people are thinking the worst, which is what Billy was clearly thinking, then you're gonna be self-conscious and then you're not gonna be you.
How is Alyssa gonna go on a date from now on? Do you know what I mean? Like she's gonna be thinking that every guy is thinking like Billy, and she thinks she's having a great experience, and Billy is just like, no.
I'll tell you one thing that Alyssa's gonna do the next time though. She's gonna get that steak done medium rare.
Or maybe she won't get ice cream. That would be a tragedy.
It would be a tragedy. 20 minutes for ice cream.
Let us know whose side you're on, Alyssa's or Billy's, in the comments down below. And we'll see you soon. Welcome back to Think Tank. Hannah and Charlie here. So maybe you're trying to make a few extra bucks and you're trying to get a job and you go into the interview and they turn the question back on you. They say, do you have any questions for me? The dreaded question that we all wait for, thinking, oh shit, I'm supposed to ask something back? Yes, you are. And these are questions that you should not ask back, like ever. Like seriously, do not ask these in an interview. The first one is, are there flexible working hours? Yeah, not the best thing, trying to go in and being like, hey, so I don't really want to be here that much.
Yeah. Translation, I don't really like getting in at 9, 10, before noon.
Yeah.
I'm not really committed to this. I got some stuff I'm doing on the side, and this is like video games, and I'm going to see myself out of my hours.
Yeah, so I know you said like 40 hours a week, 20. Make it 20.
40 divided by 2, same thing.
Yeah, so it's very similar. Tell me about the position. Do your research, pal. Do your research.
How do I use the internet? Google. How do I do this thing? Type in name of company, job opening.
It's very difficult. Yeah.
Do people really ask that?
I have had people be like, I have interviewed people and they have said ridiculously silly things. Like when I was interviewing last year for an intern for a think tank, and they asked me, so like, what is your like channel about? Which like, look, you don't need to like be a fan of the channel to work here or anything like that, but like do a little research and like to know what it's about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very simple. Just lie. Moving on. How long is this interview?
You know what? I value that. I think if you go in saying, "Hey, I have other things I've got to do," you kind of look like you are. You can't be there for an hour if
yes, you can. I've had interviews that have gone for an hour.
Yeah, but that's just ridiculous.
But no, I think the way that you could like switch this and be like, I have a lot of questions and blah blah. I just want to know like how much time you have, and switch it on the person. Like, how much time do you have for this? Because I have a lot of questions, and so then you can get an idea of how long the interview is, but you phrase it in a way that you're respecting their time. conversational jujitsu right there.
Yeah, I think it depends on the job. If you're going in for like a full-time position, but I think if like people want to hire you for like a one-time, like I do a lot of gig jobs, you know, and you want to look like, even if it's not true, you have other stuff going on because they don't want to just.
You want to play hard to get.
Yeah, you want to play hard to get a little bit. So I can see why you would do that.
All right. Well, don't play so hard to get that you tell them that you plan on getting your master's degree, because basically what that communicates to the guy or girl who is interviewing you is that you're probably not going to be at the company that long, because you're already planning on going to get like your higher education, which is great. And I think that's something that a lot of people should aspire to, but I wouldn't mention it in the interview. That's basically saying, like, there's so many different things that you could say that are totally acceptable and fabulous, but you shouldn't say them during the interview. And it's very unfortunate that you shouldn't say, like, I want to get like a business school or anything like that. Or you shouldn't say, like, unfortunately, like, oh, I plan on having a baby in 5 months. You know what I mean? Because people are going to take that into consideration, unfortunately, and you don't want to knock at the job because they're thinking that you're not as committed to the job, which is really sad.
Basically, what I'm getting here is just lie, and you'll probably get the job if you go in lying.
Yeah. Well, what else would you put on your resume?
You know what? That's a good question. What's the last one?
How soon do you promote?
Well, that's an honest question. That's honest.
It's honest, but it's not one that you should ask during the interview. You can ask, like, what's like sort of like the trajectory for this job? All these questions and statements are totally, like, I think fair, but I think it's just how you spin it. It's all about marketing, guys.
Yeah, right. Well, that is true. Yeah, it's all in the spin room. Lie your face off, and maybe you'll get hired. That's the modern day economy. Right?
Yeah, it's because, you know what I mean? It's a dog world out there. You just gotta be.
Your intern's in the room. Did you lie to get the job at all?
Did you lie at all?
No, I mean.
That's a yes. That's a yes.
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
hey,
I definitely put spins on things.
Good.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to investigate this. No, our intern is awesome. She answered all of our interview questions great, and she asked great questions following. No, I'll give an example. So one of the questions that she asked, it wasn't like tell me about the position, but it was like, what would my day-to-day look like? Great question. It's a spin on the same exact thing, but it was like a good question. Like, oh, let me like walk you through your tasks.
She was trying to figure out how much time she could have to leave and go do something else.
Yeah, and she was like, oh, she was like, you know, asking questions about like the digital media. She's like, oh, it's on YouTube. Okay, got it.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just messing. Let us know what you think you shouldn't reveal or ask in an interview in the comments down below, and we'll see you soon. So millennials get a lot of flack, and one of them is that they are killing all of these industries. So Ask Redditors asked each other what industries they as millennials would like to just see the end of and contribute to the demise of. Now the first one is the textbook industry, because textbooks are flippin' expensive and you can't reuse them the year after. Then you try to sell them back and you get 15 cents, and it's stupid.
When I was in college my final year, I just didn't buy textbooks, and my grades suffered quite a bit. But when you're looking at all the money, all the money you spend on education is just a little bit more to get the textbooks, but a little bit more is like 1,000 to 2,000. So a little bit in compared to all the money you're spending, we need something else.
Also, it's a waste of paper. Just get it online, get it, you know what I mean? Get a ebook version.
Which I'm sure you can buy for $600.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on, puppy mills. Okay, so California, you're not allowed to have puppy mills anymore because they want to basically not have these like breeders who are essentially having these dogs without, a lot of the times like they'll have disease and they're in like confined spaces, and there's so many negative aspects to it. A lot of people are supporting more adoptions and shelters and things like that, and I support that.
I support it too. Adopt a dog unless you need it for something very special. Sometimes people need to breed like a sheepdog.
Oh, so I don't mind like breeders, but the puppy mills are something that's bad.
Yeah,
like where they're just putting them in the small little cages and they're just like treating it like a factory for dogs. It's not nice.
It's not nice.
It's not nice.
That's a good puppy face you're doing.
The next next one is the wedding industry.
Oh yes, I hate the wedding industry.
It's expensive, huh?
Terrible. It starts off with the diamond thing. Diamonds are just worthless pieces of rock, you know? I mean, they
Alex
are.
has a diamond, right?
No.
Oh,
well,
no?
I don't know, maybe, but it's.
You didn't buy it?
No, I do like a sapphire situation.
Oh, that's beautiful.
But anyway, whatever. But the diamond industry is just a total sham. Which everybody knows. I think
everybody knows that. People are still want them.
I know, which is crazy. But then it doesn't stop there. Like invitations, just send an email, you know, and then don't. The other thing is like,
I'm gonna do a Facebook invite to my wedding.
There you go. That's all that you need. But I think when you continue to perpetuate, like, oh, we need to spend so much on the venue or whatever, and then you get parents to chip in, it's kind of like student loans. Because the government subsidizes those. If your parents subsidize your wedding, everybody's used to just paying tens of thousands of dollars for a wedding. And at the end of the day, you're like, I would have rather had a down payment on a house.
That's the thing. It's like the market's so bad right now that it's like you should be spending that money towards something else, not necessarily a party. And I like a good party. Yeah. I like to host. You've been to a few of them.
She throws a mean party.
I like a good party.
Fun drinks.
But you shouldn't spend like an exorbitant amount that you just like don't have, and you have to like take out loans from your parents or whatever for a party. I think. Right. But everybody has their own priorities.
Just gingerbread houses, right?
I did have gingerbread houses, but they were fun.
There was no mortgage
worth every
needed
penny.
for those gingerbread houses.
The next one is Ticketmaster.
Yeah.
So yeah, they kind of, that's also a scam sort of, the way that they like have like the service charge and like all the, like, it's like, oh, I'm like, oh, I can afford these tickets. And they're like, oh yeah, by the way, here's $60 service charge for me to send you an email with your ticket.
Right. I don't understand. I feel like the Ticketmaster is the newest taxi industry. There's going to be an app that goes after them, you know?
I am excited. Are there any other industries that you would like to just see the end of?
I really think the whole diamond situation.
That really bothers you?
It does bother me because, you know, if you look at like the fair trade diamonds are the ones that, like, there's no way of telling where diamonds come from. So there's no way of really saying. You don't know if you're getting a blood diamond. You don't. You have no idea. Just get a cubic zirconium. No one can tell the difference. I can't. Can you?
Yeah.
Oh, those are diamonds, right? In
These are diamonds, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't have. If you said cubic zirconiums, I would have been like, sure, who cares? That's the thing. Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
I would like to see the end of, I think, a lot of like the normal industries. Like I'd like to see the end of like the tobacco industry, the soda industry.
Oh, vaping. Can we talk about vaping? Everybody hates it when I talk about vaping.
You are gonna get. We did a video on vaping and I got a million comments for months.
Oh really?
Yeah.
From you or
emails, everything. No, one that I did with John.
You know, I did a video for a different place I work for on vaping, and people were just on top. I don't know why people are so into vaping. I guess if it is better, it's better than smoking. If it's better than smoking, that's fine. But I don't think it's good for you.
It's not good. Nobody thinks. I hope nobody thinks it's good for you.
We're completely healthy. You know, you're still putting a bunch of.
It's like the same sort of thing. It's like where it's like, okay, like red wine is better than like taking tequila shots or something like that for you, right? Because there's like resveratrol. So people are like, oh, red wine is like amazing for you. We should drink like 4 bottles a night, you know, something like that. I don't know if that's a good analogy.
Right. No, that's actually not too bad.
Oh, well, thank you.
Because, I think that's a good analogy.
Let us know if there's other industries that you would like to see the end of in the comments down below. And we'll see you soon. So today, but really yesterday when this video comes out, is National Bikini Day, and one company has made a pizza bikini to celebrate. Here it is. This bikini is made entirely out of pizza and it is edible. All right. Villa Italian Kitchen has partnered with popular food stylist Jessie Bearden to create a 2-piece bikini made from actual pizza. And that sounds great because I like wearing bikinis, as you may know from checking out my Instagram, but I also like eating pizza, which you might also know from checking out my Instagram.
So this is perfect for you.
Yeah, minor hitch, costs $10,000.
What?
I never had $10,000 pizza, nor have I ever worn a $10,000 bikini. I don't understand if you put them together how this is even close to being $10,000.
I think it is genius though. Villa, have you ever heard of it before? Now you have, because they made a $10,000 bikini pizza that no one's gonna buy, but they got so much free publicity. Like this is free publicity. Boom.
Yeah, you're welcome. We should get commission on these zero bikinis that they're gonna sell.
I think we should get a free bikini. And I'll take a mankini.
Yeah, you will?
Yeah.
Okay.
What
is that mankini?
I was just gonna ask.
Is it like a Speedo or is it like the Borat thing? They're just gonna send like a few pepperonis.
Oh, that's a banana hammock.
Oh.
Yeah, that I know.
Interesting. It's very confusing.
Stop visualizing that. Yeah.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't want like pepperonis or really any food on me like this, but it is a very cute idea. And they did get a lot of free publicity for it, so.
How hot is it? That's the question.
Like the pepperonis?
Do you have to heat it up before you put it on?
How?
Yeah.
No, everybody knows cold pizza is better anyway.
Okay.
So maybe it's cold pizza and no, she's not, they probably have a lot of safety precautions. I'm not worried about it.
Okay.
I feel like they put their due diligence in.
Yeah.
Let us know if you would buy a $10,000 bikini, and if you do, what you do for a living and how we can pivot. In the comments down below, and we'll see you soon. Hey guys, welcome back to Think Tank. Hannah and Charlie here. So today is July 5th, and we had a very long weekend celebrating America. Lots of celebrations. You celebrated quite a bit.
Yes, I did celebrate.
And your wife celebrated with me.
She did. She
it was lovely. She did. And so we have a lot of international viewers. And so I would like to talk about how we celebrate America on our Independence Day.
Yes.
So let me know how you celebrated the 4th of July.
Well, the 4th of July, so I went to Wisconsin. Wisconsin's a great place to celebrate the 4th of July because there are a lot of lakes. And those lakes are a perfect place to view fireworks. There are no trees to get in the way. You can go off on a boat and set them off. And so there's absolutely no shortage of that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's
Did you take lots of videos? Because every single person I follow on Instagram took lots of videos of their fireworks.
I know. I feel like the new American thing to do is to get that perfect boomerang of a firework exploding. That was all I saw all over the Instagram, Snapchat ripoff thing.
Yeah, I tried to get a cute boomerang. I wrote this on my Instagram with a flag. And like a little flag, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get a cute like boomerang. And literally the flag, like it was like windy, just like slapped me in the face. And it's like this boomerang of me being like.
That's great. Boomerang's gone wrong. Are as American as apple pie.
So true. I celebrated 4th of July. Yesterday I was at the beach.
Oh yes, I noticed that.
I drank some beverages.
What kind of beverages?
And then I had Mexican food, so I clearly didn't celebrate American food.
And you were drinking margaritas
I
too,
was,
right?
yeah.
Nothing more American
Nothing more American than that. It's very, very true. But I'm trying to. So we had a party, but we had it on July 2nd, and we had hot dogs. That's pretty American. I feel like when I'm eating a hot dog, I feel like that's like a very like quintessential American food, even though hot dogs originated in Germany.
The bratwurst.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you know what? I think sorry, I'm going to interrupt you because I just had a thought that I was like, we should be eating Mexican food and German food and all these other different foods to celebrate America because America is from people, a compilation of people from all over the world.
Yeah, that is true.
You should celebrate all cultures on Independence Day,
including Native Americans because they kind of lost a lot of their land, so we could throw up a bunch of fireworks. Not to be a bummer, I totally bummed
No, but that's actually a great idea that we should figure out a different way to like celebrate them on our Independence Day. That's beautiful. Yeah. That is so beautiful. I'm trying to think of other things that are like very American that I tried to do. Last night I listened to country music, which is not something I do on a normal basis, but I feel like it's
there's a time to do
like stereotypically American, and that's when I was listening to like that "Proud to Be American" song by.
You love that song. I don't know why you love. I hate that song. I can't believe you love that song. Hey, another American thing I played: Big Jenga, Drunk Jenga.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, and also testicle toss. which is where you have those two golf balls hanging on the thing, and you. I don't know if it's technically called testicles.
Okay.
Testicle toss, but that's what my dad calls it.
Interesting. We played beer pong and flip cup at my parties.
Oh, good.
So I think that's pretty American.
Pretty American.
The solo cups. That's actually one thing. So we do a lot of these Ask Reddits where like international people ask questions about what's going on in America, and one of the things that always comes up on these threads is red solo cups, because apparently they don't have them in different countries, and that's very quintessentially American thing.
Nothing like a solo cup to destroy the environment.
Right, which is a very quintessential American thing to do. So that's how we celebrated America. Let us know how you celebrated the 4th of July, whether you were in America or if it was just like a regular Tuesday for you around the world. In the comments down below. I'll see you guys soon.
Okay, wonderful show. No joke ahead for you guys. The Hobby Lobby folks are good Christians. I know that because they went to court defending their Christianity. Except they apparently forgot one of the commandments. Although they would like to probably steal it if they could. That fun story is in the second hour. You're gonna love it. I got a bunch of great stories in the second hour for you guys. Can't wait to get to that. First hour is also wonderful, including Ted Cruz. Just when you thought he couldn't get any more heartless, he's like, no, I can top it. Okay, just when you thought Ted Cruz being more vicious than he already is, inconceivable. He said, you might not understand the meaning of that word. That's a Princess Bride illusion for Ted Cruz, who I know enjoys Princess Bride. Okay, so that's later in the program, and that's gonna be nothing but fun. Of course, you get the entire program, especially this month. You crazy, dog? We got free membership, free for a whole month. Is this well advised? I don't know, but it's happening nonetheless. tytnetwork.com/join. Enter promo code free TYT, get a whole month of TYT membership, get the whole show, the entirety of the show, anytime you want it, download it, stream it, audio, video, no ads, post games. We got aggressive progressive tonight. We had old school last night. All those wonderful things, all free for 1 month. Try it out right now, tytnetwork.com/join, promo code free TYT. Okay, let's get started. Okay. So there's a lot of hand-wringing about the media, and are they balanced enough? Are they creating more division? Are they fake? Are they not fake? So Walter Isaacson, who was former CNN chairman and CEO, and very respected in the community and in the industry, now at the Aspen Institute, is on Bloomberg television. He's gonna talk about it. I think he is half right, but I also think that he leaves out a huge part which makes him half wrong. So first, let's watch.
About the fracturing of journalism. Talk to us a little bit about how you see Fox's role here in perhaps smoothing some of the divides in the country or exacerbating them.
Oh yeah, I think that's definitely true that the divides in our country have been exacerbated by all forms of media, whether it's in the blogosphere or on cable news, people getting more and more partisan.
So now the half that's true is obvious. So, you know, in the beginning there was well, actually, it depends on what you mean by the beginning. In the modern era, there was the Walter Cronkites, et cetera, and the idea was that the news was supposed to be objective. Now, that's not really that true. Edward R. Murrow, one of the legends of news, was clearly opinionated, had a perspective, shared it on air. Walter Cronkite actually was. His most famous moments are when he said Vietnam, we weren't winning and we weren't headed in the right direction. That is an opinion. And when he cried over JFK being shot, very understandable, but a moment of emotion and passion. So I think that even the past has been judged in a way that's not really accurate, let alone the fact that if you go further back to the foundation of this country, the press actually used to be deeply partisan and far more vicious than it is today. So that's a fact, and you can go check that out as well. But in the modern era, there was the thought that there is objectivity, and oftentimes, by the way, delivered by organizations like Associated Press, Reuters, McClatchy Newspapers does a wonderful job with it. I think The Guardian does, Intercept, etc. But it got warped at some point to mean balance or neutrality instead of objectivity. So then they just said, well, Republicans say this and Democrats say that. And look, the organization that he ran, CNN, was the most responsible, in my opinion, for that kind of false equivalency. So is there more partisanship now? Yes, then Fox News comes, they're deeply partisan. And then online, it's very clear Breitbart's on the right, and Glenn Beck's on the right. There are many blogs on the left, and obviously we're very clear about our perspective, and we are progressive. So I think that at least there's more honesty online where people clearly label their perspective. And you've heard me say this 1,000 times. I think CNN and the rest of the establishment media also have a perspective. They have an establishment perspective and an establishment bias, which they do not clearly label. That is why they see some on the left and the right as fringe and not acceptable, and they're outside of the the range of acceptable opinion according to the grand poobahs who run CNN, etc. So, but is it more partisan? Yes, I will grant him that that is half true. Let's watch a little bit more so I can tell you what I think is actually the #1 problem here.
If people could step back from that, and I don't just put Fox in the category, but I put everybody in the category, including all of us. If we could step back from having knee-jerk partisan reactions, that would be good.
Yes and no. So if you are having a partisan reaction and you say, well, the Democrats are right no matter what, then that's useless. And nobody online is interested in that, by the way. Or if you say the Republican Party is always right, of course, that's useless. And people online, I think, are far more sophisticated than TV viewers. And they don't fall into the normal team play. My family's always been a Democratic family. My family's always been a Republican. I'm on team Republican or Democrat. So now, are there also people online that are not more sophisticated? Of course, I know that too. But generally speaking, I don't know that there is a show with a deeper connection to the online audience than we have. Tens of thousands of comments every day. And I can tell you right now that the viewers online do not like partisanship. On the other hand, they want you to be honest and clear with your perspective. Again, I think we deliver on that. And to be fair to Breitbart, it's clear what their perspective is, and many of the right-wing blogs and left-wing blogs. But what I think that Walter Isaacson is getting wrong there is that he thinks, well, that means we call it down the middle. No. And I hope I'm not putting words into his mouth, but I have seen this time and time again, and in the context of that interview, it certainly appeared that he was saying that. If you then say, since I don't want to be partisan, I'm gonna say what the Republicans are doing and the Democrats are doing are equal. No, but that's not true. That's not objectively true. So I can give you many examples. I'll give you one. The number of filibusters that the Republicans did doubled or nearly tripled the previous record of filibusters. So, and by the way, that's undercounting. If you look at just strictly the numbers of filibusters, I think it's around double. But if you see that the Democrats actually did not force them into filibusters on many other issues that they could have, it would have gone way past that number. So who was more obstructionist? Well, there is a literal answer to that question, and it was the Republican Party. Now, if you say today the Democrats are obstructing Republicans' plans, that's fair. But and I'm not sure you should call it even there either. The Democrats are looking to block Trump's agenda, hence they are more obstructionist. But don't call it even if it isn't even. And so in reality now, and here's what you'll never hear in the establishment press, partly because of the opinions of Isaacson and others that would consider it unduly partisan. One party is playing by Queensberry rules. I mean, when Ossoff lost, he had banners in the background saying humility. What kind of a political slogan is humility? On one side, they got kids' gloves on. On the other side, they are proud. I mean, you go look at all the work. Roger Stone's not hiding it. He's so proud of all of his lies and deceptions and tricks, and he brags about it to anyone who'll see it. And now roundly acknowledged as the person who got Donald Trump to run, and a lot of his campaign was based on Roger Stone tactics. And it is a proven fact how many times Donald Trump lies. He lies within the same sentence. If you call that even, you have done a great disservice to journalism. So if you say, well, look, we don't want to seem too partisan, so I will say I can't tell the difference between Democrats and Republicans. Well, that's not journalism, and you've hurt the idea of the media and the press. So which plan covers more people? Obamacare has a lot of issues with it. We talked about the issues when they were passing it. I don't think it controls prices nearly well enough. But does it cover more people? Absolutely. Will senior citizens pay more under this new healthcare proposal? Absolutely. Sometimes three times more than they used to pay. Sometimes 4 times more than they used to pay. By the way, it's also fair to say some young and healthy people will pay less under the Republican plan. And then you talk about a trade-off. The Republicans give a giant, about $700 billion tax cut to the rich. That's a fact. That's a fact. Don't be afraid to say it. And 23 million people will lose their insurance, and senior citizens will pay a lot more. On the other hand, rich people get more tax cuts, and younger and more healthier people will pay a little bit less for their insurance. But on places like CNN, they are so afraid to say it because then Donald Trump and everybody will say, oh, you're on the liberal media, you're on their side, you're being partisan, fake news, all that stuff. No, lay out the facts no matter where they fall. And I think they're so scared to be called partisan that is not what they're doing today. That's the real problem with the establishment media today. Okay, so now let's go to other issues with the media and how that plays out. So last October, AT&T offered to buy Time Warner for only $85 billion. So that's obviously a giant merger. It has to get, in a sense, approved by the federal government. And I talk about this all the time, that there are these parent corporations that run a lot of these media organizations, and CNN is under Time Warner, which if the merger is approved would be under AT&T. Well, they care a lot more about some of the approvals that are gonna happen than they care about necessarily the ratings of one of your channels in that giant media organization. And some of those organizations, their parent corporations aren't even media. So in the case of Time Warner, they largely are a media company. In the old days when GE used to own NBC, they're largely defense contractors. They had other lines of business as well, but their biggest was defense contractor. So they were making money in other ways. They needed media both for a profit center, but also for marketing purposes. So that's reality, and when you mention that, sometimes people go, oh no, corporate interest and billions of dollars on the line, that would never affect anyone's decision. How dare you? Well, the one good thing about the Trump era is that they're a little bit more brazen in their corruption, so it leads to a tiny bit more honesty, whether it's accidental or not. So in this case, the Trump administration is saying, yeah, we might take politics into account in how we evaluate this merger. Now, they're not technically supposed to, but I got news for you guys. And by the way, if you're in the mainstream media, I hope you're sitting, because you're gonna be shocked to chagrin when I tell you that under old administrations, yes, the Obama administration, the Bush administration, Republicans and Democrats alike, they considered your politics when they were considering mergers, and they considered donations. I know that they will say until they're blue in the face, oh, how dare you? Are you challenging the nobility of these honorable gentlemen? My answer to that is yes, I am. I believe that, of course it was relevant. And of course, look, when I was at MSNBC and I was a host there, I was told over and over again, and that is why I left, that I had to know who the home team was. The home team apparently was the Democratic Party. Why? Comcast, the largest media organization in the world, is run by a bunch of liberals? No, that is not the reason why. Because at that time, the Obama administration was the ones that got to decide, are mergers for Comcast going to get approved? Are we gonna have net neutrality? Are we not gonna have net neutrality? Those are multi-billion-dollar decisions. Oh, how is your ratings at 6 o'clock on MSNBC? Ba-ding, who cares? Again, in the Trump era, since they can't contain themselves, they're just more blatant about it. So that brings us to a report from the New York Times. They explain that White House advisors have discussed a potential point of leverage over their adversary, a senior administration official said. A pending merger between CNN's parent company Time Warner and AT&T. Mr. Trump's Justice Department will decide whether to approve the merger, and while analysts say there is little to stop the deal from moving forward, the president's animus towards CNN remains a wild card. Drams. Okay, so there you have some significant drama. Now, for whoever at the White House is leaking that is obviously means to do one thing, which is to intimidate CNN. Two, that might be a very real threat. Now, previous administrations were sophisticated enough not to leak that to the press because it then triggers several different things. Number one, it's technically illegal to do that. The Department of Justice doesn't approve the merger. It can try to block the merger and ask for an injunction. But if it does, they go to court, and the court can then see, did you block it because you thought it limited competition for legitimate reasons, or did you block it for illegitimate reasons like political reasons? Well, if you told the New York Times you did it for political reasons, that might not help your cause. Plus, you don't want to raise your hand and say, I'm doing something kind of illegal here, right? Or we're threatening to do something illegal. I guarantee you the Obama administration would not have been that unsophisticated no matter what they actually did in reality. So now CNN gets to say we would never take this into consideration, but Mediaite reports it had recently been reported that AT&T might be looking to neutralize CNN President Jeff Zucker as part of the merger, with options ranging from firing him to kicking him upstairs to a corporate executive job with no real input at CNN. And that's how this game is played. Now, today, Jeff Zucker is out there going, no way, they wouldn't do this. If you say so, Jeff. Okay, but as you know, sometimes that is exactly how it goes down. And that would be sophisticated of Time Warner not to fire Jeff Zucker, but to give him a promotion where he gets more money. At MSNBC, I was offered more money, but I was offered to move from prime time to the weekends where less people see you. So Jeff, you might get more money and a promotion, but you're going to go to an office where nobody's ever going to hear from you again. Now that is one of the possibilities. Now that it's more out in the open, it's harder to execute. So, and it forces CNN to say, no way. And it puts Zucker, I think, in some ways in a better position. Because if you do it now, it'll seem fairly obvious. Look, we're having this conversation right now, so everybody knows about it. So who knows who leaked it? But I'll tell you this much. Does that happen in all of these administrations where they say, hey, if you play ball, usually far more subtly than the Trump administration has said it in this instance, then we'll maybe approve your mergers, and if you don't, and you rock the boat, then maybe your merger doesn't get approved. In this case, they're brazen, it's potentially illegal, but are they going to take that into account when they make their decision? Of course they are, of course they are. And hence, why mainstream media cares about access. Does it really matter to have a boring Republican or Democratic congressman or senator on television? No, that doesn't help your ratings at all. I know, I was there. The ratings don't go up, they go down when you have a boring politician on. You don't need access for better ratings. You need access for things like government merger approval. So before, I would say those things and people in the mainstream would shake their heads and go, oh, corporations and politicians caring about billions of dollars. Cenk, that's so uncouth of you to say. Now, the Trump administration has made it public. They're saying, of course we care about that money, and that is a tool that we use to control the press. Now you know at least. Okay, now let's go to Missouri. Well, we had good news in St. Louis, Missouri. They raised the minimum wage recently, went up to $10. Look, I think it should be at 15. It's a good first step though, and in 2018 it was going to go to $11. Wait a minute, why did I just say it was going to go to 11? Because there's no good news that can last in this country. What do you think, we live in a democracy? So we go to the Huffington Post now, Dave Jamieson writing and explaining. After St. Louis leaders raised the wage floor for workers within city limits, the state GOP recently passed what's known as a statewide preemption law, forbidding localities from taking such matters into their own hands. On Friday, Missouri Governor Eric Greitens said he would let the law go into effect, thereby barring cities and counties from setting a minimum wage higher than the state level. See what they did there? Oh, St. Louis, you want to pay your workers more? Nah, I don't think so. We're preempting your act of decency with an act of gross cruelty. Now, the governor in this case is a Republican and didn't have the guts to actually just sign the law. He let it go into effect without signing it. Why did he do that? Because he knows that people are going to be furious. Now, I'll give you the full context of how devastating this is to the working poor and middle class. Remember, they're working. You don't get the minimum wage if you're a bum and you're not working. So all the propaganda they do against poor people and middle class people, it's nonsense. They work really, really hard. So here's what happened. For low wage earners in St. Louis itself, the new law will have a startling consequence. It will actually push the minimum wage back down from the city approved $10 per hour to the state approved $7.70. The downgrade is slated to take effect on August 28th. Let's talk about how devastating that is. As a percentage of their income, for someone earning the bare minimum, that's a potential cut of 23%. They're giving tax cuts like it's no one's business to the highest income earners in the country. The average person in the top 1%, not from the tax cuts that's coming next, but just from the tax cuts within healthcare reform, those are the smaller tax cuts, are gonna get about, I think, $35,000 per household in the top 1%. They're gonna get an extra $35,000 per household. The numbers get astronomical when you get to the higher brackets. I think that the 400 richest people are gonna get like an extra $7 million a year from the tax cuts just inside healthcare reform. Then the larger tax cuts and tax reform comes. But when it comes to the poor and middle class that are working, they're going to cut your wages in St. Louis by a quarter. It's not like you were getting rich off of $10 an hour. You could barely survive on $10 an hour. And then they're gonna cut it by a quarter. And then meanwhile, when they do the tax cuts for the rich, you know what they tell you? Oh, that's not for the rich, that's for you guys, so that it could trickle down on you. How about instead of trickling down on me, you let me keep a $10 minimum wage, which doesn't even pay the bills. It barely allows you to survive. No, don't worry, I'm gonna give it all to the rich, and eventually, maybe it'll trickle down to you, but meanwhile, I'm gonna take your money. And by the way, where does that go? Well, why do you think they're passing the law? Well, because their donors told them to pass the law. What donors? The employers who say, look, I'd rather have my executives make more money. It's not like these businesses aren't profitable. They're almost all incredibly profitable. But no, they have to maximize profit. And in order to maximize profit, who are they gonna take it from? They're gonna take it from you. So look, if we had a decent democracy in this country, we'd have a $15 minimum wage. We might have one that's even higher. And when businesses do well, that's great. We all win. The businesses win, small businesses, big businesses, the workers, etc. But that's not the system we have. We have a system that allows for legalized bribery where you can just go to politicians, give them a campaign donations, and they do whatever the hell you want them to. And what has that led to? Gross income inequality. It's not an accident. This is how it happens. They cut your wages and they give tax cuts to the rich. And then they go, oh golly gee, I think that's the market. That's not the market. That's you buying off politicians and destroying people who are working for a living. And you think it's just in St. Louis? No, no, no. At least 17 states have preemption laws that stand in the way of local minimum wage legislation, according to a recent study by the National League of Cities. They did it in Birmingham too. In Birmingham, the NAACP is now filing a civil rights lawsuit because Birmingham is 73% African American. They raised the minimum wage to $10.10. Again, not a huge number and has not kept up with inflation at all. Has not kept up with the productivity of the American worker at all. You're still not getting anywhere near what you should at $10.10. But Alabama didn't like that Birmingham was getting a higher wage. So the state of Alabama comes in and goes, nah, I'm gonna take that higher minimum wage away, just like they did in Missouri. Look, what can you do about it? You gotta get money out of politics, so wolf-pac.com. If you don't do that, they're gonna do this to you forever. You gotta stand up and fight so that when you actually do work your ass off, you can actually get a decent wage for it and feed your family. Okay, wolf-pac.com, get money out of politics, volunteer, help however you can help. The second way is, if you don't have real Democrats, real progressives representing you, the Democrats are gonna get steamrolled every time. So in St. Louis, there's a person running for Congress who says the minimum wage should be way higher. She's a Justice Democrat, her name is Cori Bush. And if you want strong fighters who actually fight for you, she doesn't take any PAC money. If you're a Justice Democrat, you're not allowed to take PAC money, you're not allowed to take corporate money. You only small donors. That way you know that she's representing you and not the donors. So why is she for a higher minimum wage? Because nobody bought her off so that she would be for a lower minimum wage and pretend that she's actually doing it for you. She doesn't have to pretend to do anything. So go read more about her. Go to votecoribush.com. And if you want to help her with the small donations, votecoribush.com/donate. But look, if you're in Birmingham, do likewise. If you're in any of those 17 areas, do likewise. Don't let them sit there and take money from your family and just let them get away with it. Fight back the way you're supposed to in this system. Fight back through democracy, through politics, regain that power. That is why they are so scared of organizations like Justice Democrats and Our Revolution and all these people that are actually fighting back to get real change. And they're not gonna give it to you if you ask pretty please. You have to take it back. The way you do that is by supporting candidates and groups like this so we get money out of politics so that they represent voters and not donors. Okay, now let me go to, speaking of which, let me go to Nancy Pelosi. Okay. So Republicans have been running ad after ad in every one of the special elections saying if, for example, John Ossoff wins, Nancy Pelosi wins. Now, I think there has been a great misinterpretation of why they're doing that and why it is successful and how the Democrats should respond. So some Democrats, very justifiably, have said maybe Nancy Pelosi is hurting our cause and not helping. Now this reminds me of when we said the same about Hillary Clinton and everybody said, no, Hillary Clinton doesn't have any problems, but the people love Hillary Clinton. How'd that turn out? So the people that are saying the opposite, that are saying that Nancy Pelosi is wonderful and helping, are of course people like Nancy Pelosi and all of her allies that she got money to. Anyway, so right after the Trump election, when she was asked about whether people want a new direction in the Democratic Party, since they just lost to Donald F. and Trump, and they lost the House and the Senate, let alone 69 out of the 99 state legislatures. I mean, you almost can't get a worse record of failure. She said, quote, I don't think people want a new direction. Really? Well, they have a funny way of showing it. So the evidence would seem to indicate they really, really want a new direction. Okay, now after the Ossoff loss, of course, Democrats declared moral victory, but actual failure yet again. They asked Pelosi again, is it time to step down? Here's her responses. Quote, I think I'm worth the trouble. Well, okay, I know, we're supposed to be with you. I'm with her. I am worth the trouble. I am worth the trouble. Why? Why are we going through the trouble just for you? Again, I do have an answer I'll share with you in a second. And then she says these incredibly haughty things like this. Everybody wants leaders. Not a lot of people want to be led. People should know when they're defeated. Yeah, I understand. Oh, please, Nancy Pelosi, lead me. I don't know what to do. No, but you see, Representative Pelosi, we're asking you to not lead us. I think you're misunderstanding the message. Okay, but why should you stay, Representative Pelosi? She says, quote, I'm a master legislator. I don't know if she knows how funny that sounds. By the way, master legislator, what have you brought to us in progressive victories? I'll wait. Progressive victories, master legislator, you lost the fight for keeping us out of Iraq spectacularly. You lost the fight to give tax cuts to the rich under George W. Bush. You lost almost every fight under George W. Bush. Where's the master legislator? Maybe I'm missing it. And then under Obama, well, we did get one thing passed, Obamacare, which they're now destroying. I'm a master legislator. Well, if you see, for example, she'll say, and we're going to talk more about it in a second, oh, I've always been for single payer. I'm not for it now, but I've always been for it. Really? When have you ever fought for it? When have you ever gotten it passed, master legislator? No, you've never gotten it passed. And in fact, during the Obamacare fight, you were among the people who were like, oh, public option. No, that's a bit too much, don't you think? Oh, we have a super majority. But no, let's not do a public option. Hey, look, I didn't call you a master legislator, you did. So that puts the burden on you to prove that somehow you got these legislative victories that were amazing, that were better than expected. Where are those, Representative Pelosi? Because I don't think the American people are seeing them. When asked to further support this, she said, quote, people just flock to support me. Oh my God. I don't think that's your issue. I've got to be honest with you. But again, the same thing as Hillary Clinton, hubris. Hubris on top of hubris. Oh, I am the master legislator. I do declare you have to be with me. Flock to support me, everybody. Jesus Christ. And why does she believe these insane things that nobody else in the country believes? Every Republican runs ads against Nancy Pelosi. Do you think that's because they think Nancy Pelosi is really popular? No, they run those ads because they think Nancy Pelosi is really unpopular. But in her circle, she's got a bunch of sycophants around her who are like, oh yes, Nancy, absolutely, Nancy. You are the most master legislator we've ever seen, Nancy. So here's Emanuel Cleaver who says, look, Cleaver has upsides too, and all these people are complicated, got upsides, downsides. But in this case, he has this incredibly annoying quote of, nobody pushed Michael Jordan into retirement. Michael Jordan won things. He won 6 championships. Where are our championships? I mean, first of all, you don't have the House. You were Speaker of the House, you're not the Speaker of the House. Therefore, you did not win, you lost, okay? But that's not the point. The point is legislative victories, policy victories. I'm still waiting for them. If this is the best they got, then you got to step aside right now. If you think this is winning, and you think this is a wonderful example of legislating these last 20 years, you got to go right now. You got to go this minute. Because if this is the best we can do, that is an incredibly low bar. Then I can't have that person content with failure, filled with hubris, having all these sycophants around her going, oh, you're Michael Jordan, Nancy Pelosi, don't worry about it. Now, how about policy? Does she plan to win in the future? The answer is no. Let's take single payer as an example. New York Times reports she is resisting calls for House Democrats to run on single payer healthcare coverage and is an unapologetic pragmatist when it comes to those in her ranks who deviate from orthodoxy. You know what that means? That means single payer, we're definitely not doing it. The leader of the Democrats in the House says she promises that she will not do it. How are you gonna win if you promise ahead of time that you're going to quit? And then she says that she is a pragmatist. Well, if you're a pragmatist and it led to victories, and you say, look, I promise you policy victories later, but I'm at least gonna give you legislative victories, electoral victories. Well, where are those? Those don't exist either. I don't know if you know this, Nancy Pelosi. You're not Speaker of the House anymore because you lost. There is no pragmatism in failure. You can claim pragmatism if you had succeeded, but you have not. But to them, they're like, what do you mean? The money's still flowing in. We're wildly successful. No, you're not. Success is actually getting wins like in single payer. And here, in this case, you're not only refuse to fight, did you notice the end of the sentence? She is going against those ranks who deviate from orthodoxy. So if you deviate from the establishment, that's when Nancy Pelosi's a tiger. That's when the establishment all of a sudden roars its head and goes, how dare you? You will not deviate from orthodoxy. But I'm a master legislator who's gonna give us progressive victories. You just promised us that you won't even fight for progressive victories. Okay, when asked why on God's green earth won't you fight on this? Quote from Nancy Pelosi, the comfort level with the broader base of the American people is not there yet. Well, that is factually incorrect, as I'm gonna show you there. But under that logic, Nancy Pelosi, the comfort level of the American people is not with you apparently. So according to your own logic, you should step aside immediately. Okay, but on to single payer. She says the comfort level is not there. A 2016 Gallup poll found that 58% of Americans favored replacing Obamacare with a federally funded healthcare system. That is not going further right, that is going further left. The Washington Post reported April 2017, quote, a recent survey from the economist YouGov found that a majority of Americans support expanding Medicare to provide health insurance to every American. That is Medicare for all. But will you fight on that? No, majority of people are not there. You're wrong. You're factually incorrect. 58% say, yes, I want a government-run program. And a majority say, yes, I want Medicare for all. Can I be any more specific? But the donors don't want Medicare for all. The donors don't want you to have single payer. So Nancy Pelosi tells you it's not pragmatic. It's not that when you run those ads and you put Nancy Pelosi's picture on it, I'm a guy who does not want to run from any fights. So if I thought that they were attacking her because she's too liberal and that's what was working, I would double down. I'd send in someone even more liberal than her. And I would fight for our ideas. But that's not why it works. It works because they don't associate her with liberal, they associate her with out of touch elite establishment. And they are right. So, because if they associated her with liberal, they'd say, oh, then Medicare for all. That's the thing I like. That's very progressive. Nancy Pelosi's progressive. I like Nancy Pelosi. That's not the direction they're going in. So what is she good at? And another ally, Steve Cohen, and a guy I like, again, these guys are complicated, from Tennessee, says this is in favor of Nancy Pelosi. Quote, she's good at the wealthier folk. Indeed, indeed. Now we go to the New York Times again. Ms. Pelosi boasting that she was the biggest fundraiser in the country, still in office, dismissed suggestions that her time had passed. And she could not help but note that her critics did not mind benefiting from her financial prowess. That's right, we have a sick, corrupt system where the person who receives the most amount of legalized bribes is considered the leader. And every once in a while, somebody will take a pot shot at Nancy Pelosi, but they still live under the same system and they still like that she funnels some of those legalized bribes to them. So they're like, oh, she's Michael Jordan, she's wonderful, she shouldn't leave, she's good with the wealthier folks. And by the way, the guys I quoted are actually among the better guys. There are much worse guys out there. And so and they're like, oh, well, we might go from Nancy Pelosi to Crowley or to Steny Hoyer. Steny Hoyer isn't any better than Nancy Pelosi. He's just a weak sauce Nancy Pelosi. He's just someone who isn't quite as accomplished in getting quite as many bribes as Nancy Pelosi is. Again, the system allows for it, it's legal. I'm not saying they're doing anything illegal. But when you take all this money and you brag about it, I don't know if you know this, it might leave the impression that you're among the elites and among the corrupt who have filled the swamp with their donors. So it doesn't mean that Trump is right. Trump has made the swamp much worse. But you're not helping by going down the same road and just losing those guys and go, well, they have more money, what could I do? You could change the system, that's what you could do. Oh, but that would be hard. Yeah, I guess we would need a master legislator for that. All right, and they explain the actual numbers. Since entering the House Democratic leadership in 2002, Ms. Pelosi has raised nearly $568 million for her party. Just in 2016 election cycle, she raised over $141 million. Yes, in the old days when nobody noticed the corruption or they had barely begun to notice the corruption, that would have been a big positive in your column. I'm not unaware of that, I understand that. And these days, we can see you. You can't hide behind TV anymore. There's something called the internet where we can see all these numbers. Okay, Beto O'Rourke, who's one of the good guys, he's a Democrat of Texas, does not take PAC money, does not take corporate money, and he's going to run against Ted Cruz very likely in the Senate in Texas. He says you can't tell people you're against big money, that you're fighting for the average American, and then spend so much of your time with PACs and corporate interests and the very wealthy. Common sense. That's why Bernie Sanders is the most popular politician in the country right now, but the Democratic establishment refuses to see it. And Beto O'Rourke makes a good point. He says if money were the critical factor, we'd be in the majority right now. If money were the critical factor in presidential races, Hillary Clinton would have won. Yes, Nancy Pelosi, you are right. You have raised more money than anyone else. What you don't realize, though, is that used to be an advantage that is now a significant disadvantage. What it signals and cues the American people is that you're celebrating the corruption. You are not necessarily personally corrupt, but the system has been corrupted. So when you revel in that systemic corruption, people don't see, oh, well, that's a person that's fighting for us. They see a person fighting for their donors, and they're not wrong about that. Now, this is the last thing and very important. They asked Trump voters, and you're gonna say, who cares about Trump voters? No. These are people who voted for Barack Obama and then switched over and voted for Trump. So that's very important. Why did they switch over from Obama to Trump? Now, don't tell me it's race. That's tough to do in that particular category. Now, that might have been some segment of that population, but overall, these are guys who are discontented with the way things are going. They thought Obama was gonna bring them change, so they're not wedded to Republicans, they're not wedded to white people or evangelicals or anything like that. They just want change, but they felt like they didn't get it, so they went to Trump instead. So when they were asked, what does the Democratic Party stand for? The top three answers were the 1%, the status quo, and they're for the party, themselves, and the party. Unfortunately, I think they're correct. So if you can't see the problem that the Democratic Party has, and you can't see the systemic corruption, and you think you're doing a great job amongst all of these electoral losses and an absolute disaster on the policy front, then I'm afraid that you don't understand what's happening in this country at all, and you are definitely not the right person to lead the Democrats out of the wilderness, out of the losses, and actually beat Donald Trump and the Republican Party. You have to understand the voters and how much they hate this corruption in order to be able to beat the Republicans. And if you can't do that, and all you want to do is live in your bubble of hubris, then we got to ask you to step aside. Young Turks. All right, back on the Young Turks, Cenk and John with you. I do want to go through some tweets pretty quickly because they're great. Gabby Marita writes in, the single biggest fundamental flaw in the modern mainstream media is forcing a perspective of false equivalency to every issue. Here, Gabby. Aaron Shue says, if money... Top five, okay. If Aaron Shue says, if money would just trickle down anyway, as GOP says, why not just set the minimum wage at $15? I mean, if it'll happen anyway. Aaron, pretty good point.
Bazinga.
I like Aaron's way of debating. Okay, Dana Fairbanks, MD, writes in, Nancy Pelosi is a master fundraiser. That is right. The Mad Lib writes in, Pelosi sounds like Trump. I'm the best legislator. I'm worth it. I'm a master. People flock to me. Dems are the new conservative. Mad Lib, excellent point. Daniel Pareja writes in, Nancy Pelosi is like Michael Jordan, playing baseball.
I get that.
And finally, Tom Zawacki writes in, again, if you're a top fundraiser, you're a leader. If you're a top policymaker, you're rocking the boat. Ooh, I like it, I like it. Great tweets, guys. Yeah. Hashtag TYT Live to talk to us when the show's live, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern. Yeah. Okay.
It's almost as if some of our audience knows what's going on.
Yes, it's almost as if they're the smartest audience in the world, which they actually are if you look at your level of education.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay, let's turn back to the news. Some people today actually in the news when it comes to the Senate healthcare bill are feeling pretty excited that Mitch McConnell is basically saying without saying that the odds aren't looking good for him. Some people getting very excited. I would say getting ahead of themselves because this thing is not dead. We saw the same thing happen with the House version of Trump care. So I don't think anyone should get complacent just yet. They are still trying to strike some sort of deal, and they could come back from this resource with one of a variety of different deals. One that we're going to discuss on the show today has been proposed by Senator Ted Cruz. Now, he's one of the senators who hasn't yet signed on to the bill because he doesn't think that it's conservative enough. He doesn't think it does enough to destroy the protections and subsidies set up under the ACA. And so he's got a plan, and there's multiple aspects to it, but we're gonna break down the core component, which is this. Under his plan, as long as a health plan offered at least one Obamacare compliant plan in a state, the plan would also be allowed to offer non-Obamacare compliant plans in that state. So what does that mean? Well, that means you could have plans that don't have to allow people with pre-existing conditions on, or plans that don't have to cover certain essential services, plans that theoretically would allow people with pre-existing conditions but would charge them far more for their health insurance, and that could come in a variety of different forms. But as long as you had that one plan that did things the way they're being done now, you could have all sorts of others. Now, on its surface, I think some people are gonna see that and think, well, that seems kind of reasonable. That way, you can still get health insurance if you have a pre-existing condition. You can go on that one plan. Unfortunately, when you analyze it, it doesn't work out as rosily as Ted Cruz would have you believe. First of all, as the Obamacare markets have the people who need that plan so that they can get insurance go to it, those people necessarily will be more sick than the people who don't choose it, creating effectively high risk pools in those Obamacare markets. So everything we have now would become a de facto high risk pool. Inside of that, premiums would increase, and because those are the plans that would then be subsidized by the taxpayers, more and more money would have to go into those subsidies to keep things at parity right now. And it's likely that Republicans would not be willing to increase the subsidies along the way. But then think about this, what about for the people who still want those plans that actually provide coverage for a variety of essential services? They don't necessarily have a pre-existing condition, anything like that, but they want that plan. Well, those people theoretically are not gonna receive subsidies from the government to stay on those plans, although the premiums will continue to rise. And so if you want health insurance that's actually worth something, under Ted Cruz's plan, you would end up spending far, far more.
So he calls this consumer freedom. Okay, so if you have a pre-existing condition, you're no longer guaranteed coverage, so you have the freedom to pay a ton more money. Yeah. If you splinter the different kinds of insurance you can get, so this is the Republican vision of the world, which is everybody in it for themselves. So if you're young and healthy, well, I don't need much insurance, and so you're gonna charge me less. I win. I was already winning, I win even more now, right? If you're older or you're sick or you have a pre-existing condition, well, you're gonna get charged much more money because the insurance is gonna say, why would I wanna cover you? You're sick, right? So if you want insurance, it's gonna cost you more than you could afford.
Yeah.
Freedom.
Freedom. Oh, it's good. It feels good to be free.
Yeah, so one of the Republican staffers, not a Democrat, a Republican staffer, said CBO, that's the budget office that's independent, nonpartisan, will come back and say the market will be destroyed by this plan and 45 million people will be left without insurance.
Yeah.
Well, look at that, you're free. You're so free, you don't even have insurance.
And what you have there with the 45 million is that they have this myth that right now Obamacare is in what they call a death spiral. Now the CBO report that came out evaluating the Senate healthcare plan said that it is not currently in a death spiral. That's simply not true. But this Ted Cruz plan, that is what it would set up. When you segment the market that way and necessarily drive up costs and drive people to plans that don't actually cover anything, which of course leads to more bankruptcies and premature deaths and all of that, you will kill the system. And of course, Ted Cruz wants the entire thing killed. So that's not like an unfortunate consequence that he didn't foresee. That is the end goal for Ted Cruz. And unfortunately, it looks like some Republicans might be behind this. Now, Americans aren't. Americans are strongly supportive of requiring plans to cover everybody no matter their health. That's at 69% approval in a poll from November 2016. This directly goes against that. And at least one GOP aide who's involved in these issues says, I would say that if we voted on the Cruz proposal, it would be in the neighborhood of 37 to 15 against, 37 no votes and 15 yeses, and that's probably generous. But again, do not allow yourself to be disarmed. Those potential no's are worthless if they eventually turn into yeses, and that's why you can't let your guard down.
So, by the way, there's another poll that came out just last month. 77 say it's not important to cover people with pre-existing conditions. It's very important. 77% saying very important. They want you to cover people who have pre-existing conditions. Ted Cruz says no. So who are the people that don't want it covered? Well, it is Republican conservative groups like FreedomWorks and Club for Growth. What do they want? They want lower taxes on the rich. So Ted Cruz pretends to be this principled warrior. In reality, here, go to graphic 43. Let me show you who Ted Cruz actually is, okay? This is Ted Cruz. So the reason, after saying that he wouldn't support Trump and saying that you should vote your conscience, even in the middle of the convention, he went up phone banking like, okay, I'll leave the words out, but you can see what he looks like there at the end, is because his donors told him, hey, Ted, who the hell do you think you work for? Go and phone bank for Trump, you loser, you pathetic failure. And he did, because he's not a principled person. All he does is carry water for the richest people in the country. So FreedomWorks and Club for Growth says your bill, Republicans, is not draconian enough. I need it to be even worse. Yeah. I don't care that 3/4 of Americans want you to cover people with pre-existing conditions. That doesn't give me enough tax cuts, so you will not cover it. Yeah. So right now, what they're doing is negotiating for an even more draconian bill, and I'm with John, don't bet against it. They will, at the end, if I know Republicans, they will all serve their donors. All right, we got to take a break. We'll be right back with more amazing stories. Back on the Young Turks, Cenk and John with you guys today. Pete the Rock writes in, some people with pre-existing conditions can't work at all, so why charge more for people with these conditions? It's not just disastrous, it's immoral. To which I say, of course. Last time Ted Cruz cared about morality, hashtag never. Jay writes in, it's almost like they didn't think about this healthcare plan beyond tax cuts. Almost. Okay, and the members of the day are William Martin and Stephanie Foster. Thank you for being Young Turks members. You guys support the show and support independent media so we can do the kind of honest reporting that you see before you, we hope. Okay, what's next?
Yeah, we hope you are gonna see a few stories right now. The right wing wants you to believe that it's leftists and Bernie supporters that are responsible for the divisive and extreme and even violent rhetoric that's driving us apart. They tried to make that clear after the Scalise shooting. And this week it looked like they had a perfect example of it. On the morning of June 16th, Morley Elementary School principal Ryan Cleary contacted police in West Hartford, Connecticut, after elementary students found, quote, swear words on their playground equipment. Responding officers found "Kill Trump," "Left is the best," "Bernie Sanders 2020," and "Death to Trump" written on a sign in the playground. Oh my God, case closed. It says Bernie Sanders 2020. These goddamn Bernie bros are at it again. And then they got even more evidence, not just the signs. They had video footage showing the guy doing it, which we're gonna show you right now.
So as you're gonna see here, it doesn't look, looks can be deceiving, but he doesn't look like a hippie Bernie Sanders supporter so much. But you never know, but don't worry, we're gonna have his exact details for you guys on who he is. But the cops, when they saw a bald white man in a Red Sox t-shirt, they were like, this is the Bernie bro? Maybe, but let's look into it a little bit more.
So that video came out and a lot of people saw it, including that guy in the video who's Stephen Marks of West Hartford, saw himself and turned himself in because he was rightly scared that he would eventually be caught, because they got a very good look at him right there.
Anybody in that community is gonna know who he is.
Yeah, and it turns out, not such a Bernie bro, he's actually a supporter of Donald Trump. And he told investigators he, quote, had the dumb idea to vandalize the school with what would seem to be liberal hate speech, making this a false flag operation. And oddly enough, the usual false flag people aren't really talking about it. Weird how that works out. He went on to say that his crime was, quote, out of anger towards liberals, and they're breaking major laws every day and being disrespectful towards our government. They're even writing on signs and stuff.
Okay, so let's break this down, because This is beyond awesome. So by the way, let's just
wait, really fast. Just because these quotes, 2 more quotes. He says, on the record, I want to say I'm sorry. It was a stupid decision. I hope nobody wants to do the same because it's wrong. That's good. And then he says, it was just a stupid thing I did at the time. It was stupid, stupid, stupid.
Oh my God, I am totally sorry for that.
Stupid, stupid, stupid.
It reminds me of that character from Boogie Nights. Stupid, why did you do that?
That's not the only one. We've been trying to track down what that's from, but yeah, he did do that.
Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Philip Seymour Hoffman, yes. There you go.
Okay, and that was not, the audio was not him, but it could have been. Okay, so let's break this down. If I was the cops, I would have immediately known that it was a false flag operation. Why? Okay, kill Trump, death to Trump, Bernie Sanders 2020. Like, they're Bernie, okay.
You're not gonna write Bernie 2020.
Okay, first of all, Bernie supporters, on average, are not the people who are looking to kill people. I know that the right wing says, no, but that was the one shooting, remember the one shooting, right? Okay, but it could be, I wouldn't end the investigation there. Okay, then you're stupid enough to write Bernie Sanders 2020 next to kill Trump. Yeah, it makes it a lot less likely. But the one that's the icing, it's the one that kills it completely. Left is the best. There's no progressive out there going to an elementary school and like, left is the best. Go, you elementary school right wingers, take that. Okay. No, that's obviously a knucklehead right winger who thinks he's clever. Again, to be fair, there's been false flags on the left too. There's the guy who like burned the black church, and it turns out he was going to that church and he wanted to blame it, and they did the thing about Donald Trump or whatever. So this happens. We
reported on that.
Yeah, and we reported on that. It happens from time to time. There's knuckleheads on all sides. But I love the irony of this guy's statements, and it is emblematic of the right. He says he did it, as John quoted you, out of anger towards liberals because they're breaking major laws every day. But you broke the law, and you've been now charged with criminal mischief and breach of the peace. And so even as he is admitting he broke the law, he goes, well, they did it. I did it because they did it. But you have no graffiti, you have no, in fact, since they didn't do it, you had to pretend they did it.
Yeah.
If they had already done it, you wouldn't have to go out there and pretend to do it.
Exactly.
Right? So there's great irony and projection, and they're the lawbreakers.
Yeah.
As he is admitting to a crime.
Yeah, and making his dog his accomplice, which is the worst part for me.
I know, have you no shame. And finally, the second part of that quote, he says, they're being disrespectful towards our government. Number one, I thought you guys were the ones who hated big government. Now, all of a sudden, you're charging liberals with the great crime of being disrespectful to our government. Oh my God, a right winger, huh? Who would have thought? And disrespectful, you wrote fuck all over an elementary school.
And left is the best, which those kids will now say for the rest of their life. Yeah, and look, for the most part, I mean, I wanted to cover this because it's funny. The guy's funny, obviously, but it does matter too, because if it hadn't come out that this guy was actually a Trump supporter, like, do you have any doubt that Fox and Friends wouldn't be showing this and saying, look at these damn leftists? I mean, we're less than a couple of weeks out from them saying that it was leftist rhetoric that led to the shooting at that Virginia baseball field. I mean, we're less than a week from that NRA video saying effectively that because liberals are such big lawbreakers and they're vandalizing things, you should take matters into your own hands, grab a gun, and possibly start shooting people. They're ready to declare civil war because of this idea that we're the violent ones. And here's a guy trying to effectively start that sort of conflict.
So let me do an immediate correction. Fake news, he didn't write fuck. I just realized he didn't. He wrote kill and death. To be fair,
we're fake news. We're fake news.
Okay, and the second clarification is about the dog.
Animals are innocent.
So don't make him a complicit in your crime. In fact, that makes it a conspiracy. There are two things involved there.
Animals are innocent. Yet don't make them go down for a hate crime.
That's right. Yet the guys who cover conspiracies and false flag operations not covering that story. Interesting.
Weird.
35% chance that one of them is going to say, "You guys, you gullible libs." He's a lib, and once he got caught, he decided to say he's a conservative so he could just make us look bad. He was really out there doing it for himself.
Oh, the old double false flag operation.
In his heart, he still thinks left is best.
And animals are innocent. Yeah. All right, let's go forward.
Okay. Donald Trump is currently on his trip to Europe, and he had his big speech in Poland, which I wish we had time to break down because there were some doozies in there. But he's also less than one day out from a major sit-down bilateral meeting with the Russian President Vladimir Putin. And both White House aides and also outside observers, people who know about these sorts of events, have a lot of advice for how he should approach his preparation for this meeting and how he should conduct himself with Vladimir Putin. So Mr. Trump's aides are apparently seeking structure and predictability. They hope that a formal meeting with aides present and an agenda will leave less room for improvisation. And apparently Donald Trump is just going to, he doesn't have a list of like things he wants to cover. He's just going to talk about whatever pops into his head, which is a great way, to meet one of our adversaries. That makes sense. But the reason that the aides are worried about this is that a lot of people believe that Vladimir Putin is very experienced, obviously both in politics and in intelligence work. He is good at these sorts of meetings. He's good at exerting pressure, manipulating people, seducing people, as they say. At one point, he brought a black lab to a meeting with Angela Merkel, who's afraid of dogs after earlier in her life being bit by one, to sort of put her off her game in the meeting. So I don't know exactly, maybe he's gonna bring like a really big pair of gloves to the meeting with Trump. I don't know, but he's going to try to manipulate him in some fashion. But look at their prep, look at what they're doing to get him ready. Aides have written a list of tweet-length sentences that summarize the main points Trump could bring up with Putin.
Oh, that's the most embarrassing thing I've ever heard. That's not just embarrassing for Donald Trump, it's embarrassing for all of us. Our leader is a guy who could only read in tweet-length sentences. Oh my God, sad baby.
There's some chance that he will say something like, "You know what, Putin? I need you to stop intimidating #Ukraine. I mean Ukraine." Honestly, he wouldn't actually stand up for Ukraine. Yeah, no, I mean his prep, like we already know that they have to like say his name over and over to keep him interested in the prep. But now he's given up on the trying to get through the hard material. Like he's gonna take a couple of bullet points and then he honestly thinks that he can just sit down with Vladimir Putin and just shoot the shit. Like Vladimir Putin is gonna come in there with some extremely specific and valuable concessions he's looking to get. In case you don't know, Putin was and is a KGB officer, and KGB officers are specialists at one thing, seduction. This is according to the former US ambassador to Ukraine. Like he knows how to persuade, how to manipulate, and especially how to give him these little compliments that he knows Donald Trump is going to want. God knows what a compliment to Donald Trump can buy someone like Vladimir Putin today.
So Putin obviously not in the KGB anymore because the KGB doesn't exist. He now runs.
He means that he functions in that same role. Like it's not like he has moved on in his life from his position in that.
So to give you some concrete examples, so there's the dog example, which by the way, if I was Merkel, I would have immediately told my assistant, bring me some snakes. I'm not kidding. Bring me 3 snakes. I don't care if they're poisonous or not poisonous. I'll put it right next to this mother effer. Okay, you gonna bring a dog? All right, I'll bring a snake. You bring a snake, I'll bring a tiger. We'll do it the Chicago way, okay? But you're not gonna intimidate me. Who the hell do you think you are? So getting pushed around by this guy. So, but Putin has done it in both ways. Sometimes he cajoles, and I hate the word that we're using the word seduces. Anyway, in other ways he intimidates, and sometimes he just takes it. As Cersei Lannister once said, you know what else is power? Power is power. So he was with Robert Kraft, the guy who's the owner of the New England Patriots, and he's like, oh, nice Super Bowl ring, can I see it? And he's like, oh, sure. Putin looks at it, puts it in his pocket, walks out. It's now his Super Bowl ring. That's a true story confirmed by Robert Kraft, who is a Trump supporting Republican, okay? So Putin, this is who he is. And yes, he prepares meticulously and works really hard and is going to try to get things from us. And he has a lot of things to work with Donald Trump. Trump thinks, I got this, I already read the tweet-length sentences. Remember that he wouldn't read his briefing, so they had to bring it down to a single page with pictures on it, not joking. Those are sources inside the White House that are saying that. And then now The pretty pictures aren't enough. A whole page is too much. We're down to tweet length. Putin, bad guy. Oh, okay. Putin, bad guy, maybe. I don't know, he gives me stuff.
Maybe we could just, a couple of GIFs, maybe to illustrate exactly what he should do. But
maybe
yes,
a wrestling video. Do you see?
Maybe.
He's like the Undertaker. So you get it? He comes in, he's like the bad guy. He's dark, and dark. I get it, right? Bad guy.
But he uses dirty tricks. It's like a street fight, basically. So if you get a chair, maybe something wrapped in barbed wire, you can use it. Now there was some advice also given by a former KGB officer who's part of like the resistance now in Russia, who said Trump should be calm, listen to all of Putin's arguments, and avoid making any spontaneous decisions. That is not his strong suit. Putin is going to be charming. As to him, Trump is more important than most of his closest cronies. The Kremlin depends on the future relations with USA. They live with Trump on their mind. But he does like making those spontaneous decisions. He can't keep his own attention for the span of a sentence.
So there's two different things going on here to summarize. One is that even Trump, and I say even Trump advisors and aides, but actually, especially Trump advisors and aides who have to work with him every day, realize what a schmuck he is. They're like, don't let him improv anything because he will bungle it. So let's be really tightly produced so that he can't say anything stupid because he is that stupid. We know, we work with him every day. And we will try to explain it to him in bite-sized sentences because the president is a moron and can't read past 140 characters, right? So they know that, the guys who work with him. These are not people who made it up. These are sources inside the White House, okay? So the second part of this is that, guys, you're wasting, the guys at the White House, to be fair to them, they're Republicans. I don't like them. I got no love for them at all, okay? But you're wasting your time because they are actually, they sound like they are earnest people trying to get whatever they want, and in their case, it's right-wing policies, some of which I agree with is in favor of US interests, and some of which I don't agree with and is a bad idea. But that's, Trump is gonna give Putin what he wants because they already made a deal. So Trump will go there and go, oh, okay, maybe we should lift the sanctions. Oh, I did that out of improv. Oh, I got the tweets wrong, oops. I'm being fair to those Republicans who work at the White House who I can't stand. You guys don't, very likely, the overwhelming majority of you have no idea what deal Trump might have made with the Russians already. So you're going in there like trying to explain to him what US interests are. He doesn't give a damn about US interests. He gives a damn about Trump interests. So all of this is probably for show. The reality is Putin already played his tricks. He did that before the election and during the election, so he doesn't have to go in there and do any sort of master manipulation when they meet in person. That mission has already been accomplished.
And two more things. I mean, we're not going to go over Trump's press conference today, but Vladimir Putin has got to be feeling good that Trump once again refused to accept the intelligence community's conclusion that there was Russian interference in the election. So he is thereby helping Russia in their efforts to continue to do this in more and more cases. But in addition, just to summarize, like we have our concerns obviously about some of the people trying to control him, but there's this idea that theoretically they can maybe exert a little bit of influence, people who are a little bit more responsible, a little bit more competent, and some of them might be competent. But when we're talking about an extremely important meeting, the first big sit-down meeting with a small group of one of the big powers around the globe, one of our chief adversaries, these could change based on the list of people, but the list of people who are currently known on the Russian and the US side to be in that room, the Russian officials have 80+ years of government experience. The US officials that'll be in that room, less than 1 year of government experience for the entire group.
Look, as I said before, the die has already cast, so it doesn't matter that much that what happens in this meeting. But if it did, we'd be doubly screwed. All right, last quick fun story for you guys.
Okay. During his trip to Poland, Donald Trump did try to reach out to Polish leadership, but it didn't really work out for him. Let's watch.
So this is the leader of Poland, and then no, wrong. His first lady, I don't think so. Then the best, of course, she's actually following etiquette. We'll explain in a second. The best is his look, though. Okay, that's the theoretical snub. And then look at the look. Look at the look. Oh yeah, I know how these women are. I know it.
Yeah, so it's the wife of the president.
She's supposed to shake the first lady's hand first and then the president's hand. But of course, our president, our commander in schmuck, didn't get briefed on any of the etiquette when they probably tried to brief him on the etiquette. He's like, who needs etiquette? I got it.
I reach for things. I was gonna grab her by the hand. And yeah, so like she's not being rude or whatever. She's just shaking. The whole thing doesn't matter, obviously. But his look, where he's so mad. And what I think it actually is partially it's not knowing the etiquette, but it's partially that I don't think he even considered the possibility that she would want to interact in any way with his wife first. He forgets that his wife is there constantly. I mean, you remember at the inauguration, they did the comparison video where Obama gets out of the car, waits for Michelle, they walk up together. But he just gets out and walks up there, and Melania is just standing in the background. He doesn't even remember that she's there.
To be fair to him, she won't even hold his hand. So.
That's true. He doesn't have a lot of luck with handshakes recently.
Oh, look at the eyes, man. You know, so Poland has been great to Trump, and okay, but here, that's already funny. It's just funny. That's all.
Look,
and then look at the look, and that little smirk, like I'll get you.